Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran, and now I'm here with River Brown, John Tortorelli, and Joel Dehls, and it's now episode 458. In this episode, we are going to do a mix of NFL and NBA. We're going to talk about the All-Star Weekend. Not for long, though. Really not much to talk about. The most fun thing is we're going to predict the NBA playoffs as it currently stands right now in the middle of the season. That should be a lot of fun. And then we're going to get into our previews for the football season, starting with the AFC East and asking and answering some of the burning questions with all those teams in that division. Drew is not here today. He was at Mountain Creek over the weekend. He will be back next episode. John is filling in. And John, now you've been in all three chairs. You've been in Dell's chair. You've been in Riv's chair. You're now in Drew's chair. Which one is most comfortable?
I'll go Riv's chair.
Ooh.
I've also been in Drew's chair plenty of times.
He's got a skinny butt, though. He's not as worn in as ours, probably.
That's a good point.
That's a fact.
I like Riv's a lot. I think it's the most comfortable I've been.
I appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
I do like Riv's seat. I'm a fan of it.
You've been in my seat.
You got plenty of room. Like me and Joel, we're a little tight here.
I warm it up for you guys, you know?
Yeah, over there you got plenty of room. You could really spread out if you got to. You got a laptop there. John, how you been, bro? Long time I haven't seen you in the studio.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been like sick all winter, and this is like the first week that I've actually not been sick.
Nice, bro.
So it's been really awesome, and I'm really looking forward to being here.
What do you think it's from?
There's so many different things, Dehls. I think
you're a busy man these days.
Yeah, I think a lot of time at school, like when all my friends, like being in a fraternity, when they get sick, all get sick, and they say like every semester it happens at the start. No, it's nothing like that. But like being at the house and stuff like that, it's like 30 guys, obviously.
Yeah.
Sneezing, coughing, all that. Drinking together even, so.
Do you think you'll live in a frat house one day?
No shot.
No way?
No shot. I do too much, and I feel like it'd be like. I'll sometimes do homework and stuff there, and I'll get some stuff done, but I've noticed that like there's way too much going on every day. It's way too easy to lose track of time. So I always try to prioritize my time separately.
Nice, man. Nice.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice to have you here. Riv, how are you doing?
I'm feeling great. Lombardi. I'm definitely got to always bring that up every show. Champion, Eagles fly. You know, dominant year. You know, we run Pennsylvania. I kept trying to tell you that all year.
Yeah. 6 is greater than 3. But yeah.
Yo, how many rings have you seen?
2.
Oh, how many playoff wins have you seen in the last 10 years? I'll wait while you answer that. But yeah, I'm feeling good, Joel. You know, I'm feeling good. You know, Court of Gold just came out. I was watching it earlier today. That was a dope little, episode, dope little documentary that just saw like. Just the whole experience of, the Paris Olympics and the grind these guys have to go through. And it just puts everything into perspective, man, how much they really work for, how you really go out there. It's no money on the line. You just play for your country, and you really play the hardest you can see. And that's why we see these big-time performances from these guys that are like, and D-Wade said the best. He's like, these 3rd, 4th tier guys in the NBA, they go over there, and they're studs because you're playing for something. This isn't about the money. This isn't about, this is about your country and you, like, really fighting for your teammates. And, that thing has been dope. You get to see a little bit of Kevin Durant being vulnerable. You get to see Steve Kerr struggling with trying to figure out how to play this guy, how to play that guy. And I'm almost done with it. I'm on, like, the last 2 episodes. It's really been dope to see. But other than that, NFL season's over. I'm a little bit excited because now we get to focus a little bit more on the NBA. And it's perfect because NFL's over. All-Star break just ended. Now we get the real moments of the NBA where we get to focus on the back end and the playoffs and get ready for that type of conversation because playoff basketball really is the best fun times of this. But Dehls, who are those 2 people?
Wow.
We got
you interviewed one.
Notorious B.I.G.
Yep.
Got Dr. Dre, man.
That is Ice Cube.
No shot.
Yeah. So we got new people up. Thank you for that, John. Legends and pioneers. And then we got Big Bronny. I ain't asked for him, but he got up there.
Yeah,
so.
you sent me 2 people. I was like, yo, Riv, what do you want on thumbnail today? I was
Completely forgot the third person.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thought you would have put like one of my favorite guys that's black or something.
Game. Yeah.
Next time I'll put Cam Reddish up there.
Cam Reddish would be tough.
God bless. I made a mistake. You guys have 2 Super Bowls, not 3. So
I know we do.
Yeah, and
we've been to 4.
Yeah.
How far does
5?
How far does Cam Reddish get in a 1v1 tournament?
Oh, far. You saw his highlights?
Yeah,
pretty far.
He gets very far.
101. That's his problem. He's too 101, man. You got to learn the flow. They get far. A lot of guys get far. Like RJ Barrett might get far in a 101. Like just straight overpowering.
Well, you saw they might actually do it. Like Adam Silver's putting something together, $1 million prize.
Yeah, we'll get to that when it's time. But Joel, how was your weekend,
$1 million
bro?
prize.
Yeah, bro. How'd Valentine's Day go?
How did Valentine's
It was great. I went to an arcade. I was playing some games there. Got some tickets.
You smoked her?
Was able to. No, it wasn't no competition or nothing like that. I was able to get enough tickets to get her this Hello Kitty in a giraffe costume, which is a little cool, stuffed animal. Then we went to go out to eat at this restaurant in the mall called Seasons 52.
Oh, it's Garden State?
Yes.
How was it?
Best steak and best lobster tail I've had. That's what I get. Yeah, I get the steak, I get the lobster tail.
What kind of cut do you like? What kind of cut steak?
I got it.
Filet
mignon.
Okay.
Yeah, I got an 8-ounce filet mignon. Yeah, I feel like usually when I go get steak at places, sometimes it's a little bit too chewy or it's hard to swallow. I feel like that's my experience with steak sometimes. And that's why sometimes it's off-putting. And I've been to places before where the lobster tail also is a little bit hard to swallow. And that's, to me, that's why sometimes I second guess when I get those dishes. Yeah. Because I'm over here sometimes chewing it so much and I can't swallow it and I spit it out and, put it in a napkin and stuff. I can't finish all the way through. Enough, brother. But Seasons 52, that steak was so tender and it was easy to just have it go down my throat. Same thing with the lobster tail. It was a very simple, smooth experience.
There you go.
And I liked it. I'm definitely gonna go back because it was just so enjoyable.
How do you get it cooked? How do you get your steak cooked? Medium
well.
Okay.
Me too.
Usually get a medium.
I don't really eat steak a ton, so I don't know too much about them. I just get well done. Like I'm not a big steak. I know steak is like a grown man eat, so I got to start getting into it more.
Right.
But I'm not really a big fan.
There was definitely a point in time where I felt like it was overrated because I wasn't able to swallow it. But then as of recently...
What are you doing wrong,
when
bro?
I don't know. It's just hard to swallow. It's hard to explain. It's just I'm eating it, and I feel like if I try to swallow it, I'm going to choke.
Maybe cut like smaller pieces, maybe? I don't know.
You see how he eats the munchkins. He cuts smaller pieces.
I do. I am. I'm not trying to shove the whole thing in my mouth.
Meat before, though. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of... I don't know. He's a little slow sometimes.
I'm not trying to shove the whole thing in my mouth. There's sometimes you just get certain pieces that it just really makes it hard to swallow. But, when you go to a place that does steak really well and lobster as well, then it makes the experience enjoyable.
I love lobster.
Tried caviar for the first time at Valentine's Day. Shit was ass.
How was your Valentine's Day?
Yeah, it was
good. It was good. I had it was like a prefix menu. All these places got prefix menu. We were just talking about it, but there's really the only course I didn't like was the first one. It was caviar with like oysters. That shit was fucking terrible. But the main course was lamb. The lamb was amazing. It was probably the best I've ever had in my life.
Where'd you go?
What's it called? It was like Locale. Some it's like on the water in Jersey City. A nice view.
Lamb is good, man. I might go after the podcast, drive to New York City, get some halal truck food, man. It's undefeated.
Shit's just dope. Yeah, I got a plan this weekend.
You got a what now?
I got a plan.
What's the plan?
Oh, what happened? Stomach was tapped. Yeah. Oh my god!
I think that was mine.
What happened? We were talking in the car last time about Valentine's movie you were trying to make.
Oh yeah. The move. I didn't do it this week. I got my son, so I couldn't.
But I thought you slipped a note.
I did slip the note. I forgot to put my name on the note. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So I'm gonna tell you a little funny story, right? So I've been trying to look for me a little something to like, summer's coming up, spring's coming up. I want to be like y'all. You know what I'm saying? I want to find the woman to motivate me. You know what I'm saying? So, my nail tech, she's fire. I'm not going to say her in cap. This woman, I don't want to say the B word. She better than that. This woman is beautiful. So I told Dehls, I'm like, yo, Dehls, I'm about to write her this little note because I'll be a little nervous. I'm going to slip it under her job door, and then I'm going to pull up on her on some shit. My dumb ass forgot to write my name on the note. So she just got a note that said all the nice things, but, like, there's no name on it. So I was like, fuck. Because I did it when I was high. I was really high. So I made an appointment this like Thursday or Friday.
You gonna break the news?
I'm gonna just walk in there with a big ass teddy bear, mad flowers. Like, yo, like, let's just go on a date. Like, fuck it, right now. Like
the week after Valentine's type shit.
Yeah, like just cancel
your
appointment.
This appointment actually is for lunch. Let's go.
Yeah. No, literally, I booked the last appointment of the day, and I'm just walking there like, yo, bro, like, get all your stuff, cancel everything. Let's just go on a date right now. Like, if you say no, I get it, I respect it. You can have all this stuff, but if you don't, slip. We're gonna go on a little date.
Where would you take her?
I think we could just go on some college. Like, Humdingers is cool. Like, just go chill, get to know each other. Nothing, like, crazy right now. Like, let's just go get to know each other. Let's go bowling. It's like just some calm shit. Let's go kart.
Conversate.
Yeah, conversate, talk to each other. See where our minds is at. See if we can connect on that type of level. You know what I'm saying? Maybe drink a little.
Chivalry isn't dead.
Did you do the batting cages?
I did.
How was that?
Wasn't able to hit the baseballs. I was able to hit the softballs.
Slow pitch?
Yeah. The baseballs go really freaking fast.
What mile per hour did you go into?
I don't even know I was able to adjust that.
I mean, I've only been to Humdiggers like once. I don't really remember, but like I'm pretty sure like batting cages they have like a 55, a 65. Like
Oh wow, I didn't even know they were separated in that.
usually that's how. Yeah.
I just went into a random batting cage.
Oh, that's
and
crazy.
They have two options. It's baseballs and softballs.
Maybe Humdiggers is different.
One of them, I clicked on baseballs and then they came really fast.
Yeah,
like I'm talking about
I
like
believe you.
it might
Softball is the shit they underhand.
Yeah, my eyes like it couldn't really keep up with it. I was trying to hit it and I just couldn't.
You're not scared that shit might hit you?
No, because if you're standing
those batting
somewhere,
cages are good.
yeah, if you're
Let's go down the
standing
middle.
somewhere, they usually would just go like straight down the middle of the plate.
Oh, so you get a perfect.
Yeah.
They do,
pitch.
but with softballs they were slower, so I was able to hit that, and yeah, it was fun.
Baseball season around the corner, man. I can't wait.
I hate arcades, the claw machines, man. I just feel like they cheat a lot.
They are. I mean, yeah, they're claw machines.
Yeah, but I mean, there are moments where the claw has it, and then right when it's about to go, it just drops it. So I'm not a big fan of that. But I played Deal or No Deal. They had a Deal or No Deal arcade game.
I love those.
Man, that was so fun. I actually won the grand prize. My briefcase was you win 400 tickets.
What number did you pick?
I think 9.
Okay.
That was my
Any
number.
rhyme or reason?
No, no. Actually, yes, there was a reason. I was following the briefcase.
Oh,
because
gotcha,
you
gotcha.
follow it,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
following it, and I knew that it had to land somewhere on the left side. So I just picked the briefcase on the left side, and then I was just playing that game like I was playing real life Deal or No Deal. And people around me were like, what this guy's so excited about. But when I was clicking No Deal, I was really going, no deal. I'm not going with that briefcase, and I kept getting lucky. The banker kept trying to sway me to take these big offers, and I just kept saying
Did
no.
you get anything cool at the end? Any like with the tickets?
The Hello Kitty stuffed animal, basically.
Okay.
Yes.
When I got really high one time with the Dave and Buster's, and the motorcycle ones fell off.
Oh wow.
Mid game. Fell
Yeah,
right off.
the motorcycle like doesn't really move.
the
The
shit-
screen's moving.
Nah, the
well,
shit-
the motorcycle does
Yeah,
move.
the shit. And I went too far, boom, and I just fell.
Damn,
and
I
when
would've killed to
fell,
see that.
I hit like
Tough way to go out.
it was like two of my friends next to me. So when I fell, I hit her, and then she fell over and hit my other friend, and we all just fell off. And I was just like, I'm really high. Like that's on me, my fault.
Haven't been Dave and Buster's in a minute, man.
Nah, it's fun. Like because we went to happy hour, and then
They got some fun drinks there too.
Yeah,
They got some real fruity
it's
drinks.
the one in Wayne.
yeah, I know Palisades Mall.
No, Wayne Mall. Is that what it's called?
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking they have one in Palisades Park.
Oh no, I'm thinking the one in Wayne, the Dave and Buster's. I don't know if you've been to the mall in Wayne. I forgot what it's called.
The mall. I think you're
Willowbrook?
talking about
Willowbrook. Yes,
I didn't know
Facts.
that.
Facts.
Yeah, so but next to it is a couple restaurants. I forgot the restaurant I was at, but we was at a happy hour, and we were drinking and we took an edible. We went right upstairs to Dave and Buster's, and it's literally just like
Dave and Buster's got some fun drinks,
Might
man.
have been B-Dubs.
no,
No.
it's another restaurant.
Yeah, give me a second.
Is it Yard House?
Yes.
Oh,
There you
that's
go.
in Wayne.
Yeah.
Why I think that's
Yeah.
Palisades Park. Am I thinking
Yeah,
something?
Yard House. They have some nice fruity
yeah,
drinks.
yeah.
Yes.
Yard House
Yard
has good
House
food.
has some good stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
do.
Shit was like
They have the half
I had like
ounce.
12 drinks. It was like
Half
$50. I
ounce.
was like, what the fuck?
What'd you get? What you got for a drink?
You know me. The first thing I
Something
started
like blue.
was a lemon drop. I always give me a
calm.
little raspberry lemon drop.
I was drinking margaritas on Valentine's Day.
I respect that. Then I got like because I've never before that I never went to happy hour, so I don't know what a cheap drink is. So when he went there, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, yeah, let me get a little lemon drop. I'm gonna start calm. And he was like, okay. And then I was looking at the menu, and I was like, yo, hey, I asked her like, come here, yo, why is it $5? And he was like, dude, it's happy hour. I was like, yo, I don't know what you're saying to me. And he was like, yeah, like everything's like
I never heard of happy hour.
never. So he was like,
First time.
everything's like $5. I'm like, are you serious? When he told me that, dude,
Bring me 5.
bro, I had like 12 drinks, 13 drinks. It was like $60. I was like, dude.
12 drinks.
Yeah, bro, I couldn't move my face. Like, my face was like stuck. It was so fun, though.
Just go to Dave and Buster's and fall off a motorcycle.
Yeah, we went upstairs. Yeah, we were making mad loud noises. We
Oh,
looked
yeah.
like a typical black,
Oh.
Yeah, I don't got to go deep into it.
No,
but ghetto.
no.
We were really loud, making a shit ton of noises. I think I stole a ball from this kid was, the basketball part.
Yeah.
I ran out, like the shit wasn't coming down fast enough. So the kid next to me was playing ball and I was like, fuck this. Stole one of his balls and I went to shoot it on mine. He was like laughing at me and I was dead aggravated because I lost. I was like, what the fuck? Good
When
times,
you were
though.
mentioning the Court Gold documentary, I started watching a couple episodes of it. I felt like it was really cool. Barack Obama being there, Anthony Edwards, his interaction with him. You got to see like different. I feel like the first episode was about Team USA. Then they had some episodes about Team France and Canada. Describing their team. Steve Nash talking about how far he's came, his relationship with R.J. Barrett. Boris Dehls was talking about France and stuff, and how he was the leader of the team and not Tony Parker, which people get that mixed up and stuff.
I didn't know RJ's father was also the GM for
Canada. He was the captain for Team Canada too. So yeah, RJ Barrett calls Steve Nash Uncle Steve because they have a really close relationship. But no, it was a cool documentary. I haven't finished it just yet, but what you mentioned to me that stood out to me the most was that they go out there for free and they play like there's something on the line. And I feel like that's what the All-Star Weekend is missing. Yeah, and I think it's possible to not have $1 million of a prize pool to get these players to play hard because obviously when they go into the Olympics, they're playing their butts off. And at the All-Star game, which I know that it's in the middle of the season, they want to break because it's a long season. I understand all those reasonings, but I don't think anybody is asking for them to play hard for 48 minutes. I think the East versus West All-Star format is perfect. That game, all we're asking is to keep the score close in the fourth quarter.
Tighten up.
And then have the best 10 players on the planet play each other and go as hard as they possibly can for those 12 minutes, that fourth quarter where things really matter. And I think that the NBA is trying a bunch of different activities and circus-like activities to try to get them to play hard. But the Olympics goes to show that you don't need to do the most extravagant thing because if players feel like there's something meaningful on the line, they will play. And in the All-Star game, it should be pride. But I just think a bad example has been set. And I'm not going to say that, the All-Star game has been perfect because in the 2000s, it wasn't that good either. But, definitely the competitiveness has been lacking for a while. And I feel like this past weekend was just like the tipping point of it, not so much for the players, even though the players didn't really try. It's just the entire presentation of it. It was really lacking, and it was just too over the top, and it feels too corporate. It doesn't feel like the best players in the world going to an open run and just playing and having fun. It feels like just sponsorships, ads, and I think if you have a presentation that feels fake and not authentic, then players are going to gravitate towards that and kind of be disinterested in whatever the product is that they're presenting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think a one-on-one tournament would be dope. I really think you don't need to add the $1 million for these guys to play. I think if you just limit it to one-on-one, I think it'd be dope. I think the problem with it would be about egos. Who really is going to go up there and want to get exposed? You can see a lot of it with the WNBA, how they've had their own little one-on-ones tournaments and stuff like that, and it's been dope to watch. For me, I tuned into a couple games of where they're playing one-on-one, they're going, at each other's chests, and it's been dope to see. I think NBA, you got a couple guys that'll do that. Maybe have a little guard, then the wings, then the bigs, just one-on-one. See who's that, who's mano-a-mano, who's the dog and all of this. Listen, the All-Star Weekend's been tough. I haven't called it live for like 4 years. I think we've lost the essence of it. Maybe if you add whoever wins it, East or West gets home court advantage, that maybe add some incentive. Yeah, but it's like you can't make these guys play hard. Like they don't even play hard for 82 games. So it makes you think they're going to play hard for an All-Star game weekend that's honestly just filled with a bunch of fun, and it's like just the vibes are chill. Like I feel like we need to focus more on the other stuff. Like I think the 3-point contest, you can't fuck that up. Like me and Dehls were talking about in the car. You really can't fuck up a 3-point contest. You just put the best shooters in the league in it. You have the setup, and they decide whether it's going to be lit or not. You have the guys like Buddy Hield that can scorch hot, shoot 31, and then now people are excited. And then you have the one-on-ones between Steph and Sabrina we had last year, which was amazing to watch. 3-point contest is fine. I think the dunk contest, Mac McClung made it really good, but you have to get guys that can go on that level. I think if you can consistently have 3 to 4 really good dunkers that can continuously be creative and stuff like that, it's hard for these guys in the NBA to practice for the dunk contest like Mac does throughout the year because their schedules are so busy and stuff like that. And also being able to take those risks. Like Mac can take those risks because he's not an NBA player. It's just a different it's a different type of risk that you take. NBA, you got to think. Stephon Castle's thinking, what if I get hurt my rookie year? What if I mess up my leg or something like that? Like, dude, I'm done. Mac McClung's just like, this is my life. Like,
it's the same way for a two-way player, though.
It is, but I think Mac is already at a point where he trains for this. Like, he's a dunker. Like, he's We know what he is as an NBA player.
He also makes more as a dunk contest.
John, you're trying really hard to convince us that Mac McClung is a real NBA player. No, because
a two-way player is an NBA player.
No, it's not.
The truth is that Mac McClung has made more money from the dunk contest than he has.
He should be putting in more time.
He's also one of the
best players in the
ball handling or whatever.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. But he's not getting real NBA minutes. You know, it's different for somebody.
He's not an NBA player. It's okay.
You know, it's different for somebody that maybe has like a max contract on the line.
I hear you're saying with the earnings, but there's still a lot on the line for a two-way player too. It's
not the same as an NBA
player.
player.
For a chance.
He's not going to the dunk contest fighting for a chance to make a roster. That's not where he gets his bidding. Like Stephon Castle's on a roster, he's a potential building block. He's not going to take the same risk as a guy like Mac McClung. And I don't think that's wrong. But I think like the skills challenge was cool. But like, why do we have certain guys in it? That's what throws me off. Like
cool.
Like Draymond Green and shit. like and Chris Paul trying to cheat the system. That was fun. I do think, going back to the guards would be dope. That's the skill contest. It's always been a guards thing. Like, you don't need to have big men in it. You don't need to do these duo things. Or you can have guard duos. But All-Star Weekend, I think it's not as bad as the Pro Bowl, I would say.
I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in a decade.
It's not
maybe,
as bad as the
longer.
Pro Bowl, but it's definitely, like, what makes it fun is you get the Rising Stars game, which is okay, I guess, and then the three-point contest, which is dope. Trying to pay these guys to just try to play harder, it just doesn't make it. It's making like for Adam Silver, you're trying to do so much to make these guys play harder when you need to just face the reality that they just don't want to play harder.
Is he just a bad commissioner? Are you guys ready to say that Adam Silver is just like kind of like
what makes you a bad
he's like a
commissioner.
C commissioner?
I don't think there's anything
been
David
impressed.
Stern would have done better to make these guys play harder.
It's not really the All-Star Weekend itself, but it's more so everything that you look at. The presentation for the NBA going to the finals has been bad.
That's a fact.
And the job that Adam Silver has done has not impressed me.
The in-season tournament courts
whatsoever.
They tried, though.
I do believe that Adam Silver's tried to implement a lot, from the play-in tournament to the in-season tournament to changing the All-Star game format, what feels like every other year, and restructuring the CBA, a variety of different things as it relates to player awards. But I'm not going to say Adam Silver's a good commissioner, because I look at the presentation from the All-Star game to the NBA Finals, and I compare that to when I grew up as a kid, and I don't think it's nostalgia. I think the presentation of the game and the product itself was presented a lot better in the 2010s, dating back to the 2000s, right as Adam Silver was given the keys to be the NBA commissioner. As it relates to All-Star Weekend, look, the NFL has the same exact issue. At the end of the day, you're not going to get, and I think we've seen this across many different sports, but the exception of hockey, because they took over the weekend themselves.
Your idea was dope, too.
I know. I didn't watch it, but I've heard great things. I kind of like the idea.
They competed. It was just a random exhibition game, and it
was like
country versus country. They took over the weekend. I mean, it sounds, I have to look into it more. But for the All-Star game itself, you're really not going to find an immediate fix. But I do believe bringing it back to the game's root, as you said, the essence of having players wear their individual uniforms, incorporate the East versus West format, and go back to really, I think it comes down to the face of the NBA, that LeBron James or that Kobe Bryant, playing hard, because everyone else will follow. If he's messing around, no one else is going to give a shit. And I do believe that, for what it's worth, when you look at the younger generation of the NBA, I do believe one of those players who would care and would still compete is Victor Wembanyama. I feel like he still does put a lot of pride into it, and he cares, and he's going to compete. And if a guy like that is the face of the league, and he is giving it his all, it will raise the level of competition. But that being said, I think it comes back to everything else, all the other kind of ancillary and the extra challenges from the dunk contest, the three-point contest. I think the dunk contest really just needs to have more players with the pride to win. And one last theme which I liked relating to the format was someone incorporating all-star snubs into it and basically putting the stake of an all-star accolade on the line. Because if you want players to care, you put their legacy on the line, you put their accolades, that all-star nod. All of a sudden, that was a reference on Twitter. I need to shout out the user, because Drew was going back and
Moose
forth
NBA.
with him. Moose NBA. Shout out to him. It's a great idea, where it's basically incorporating the biggest nubs get their own team. If they're going to incorporate multiple different teams, they go up against an all-star roster. And if that snub team does win, they get that all-star accolade. Because every year, people say, it's kind of crazy, John, but every year we see all-star replacements down to the third or fourth guy get that all-star nod as it is, even if they weren't one of those base 12 all-star selections. So I think if you want players to compete, that's the best way you're going to do it.
That also puts money on the line, because some guys in their contract, you make an all-star game, you get that extra added money. So now you're sitting there like, my money on the table, I'm coming to play. You're not about to just take my money. You're not about to take my all-star
there was some way too, because Joel, you said it earlier, right? For the Olympics, there's no, monetary prize, but there's pride in being an Olympic champion. There's pride in getting a gold medal. There's pride in representing your country. For the NBA, the pride is making the All-Star game. Once you're there, the winner or loser doesn't matter. Yep. I think that's the issue, is that you, in your contract, how your legacy is defined is how many All-Star games did you make, not how many All-Star games did your Eastern team or your Western team win. So I honestly, it's on the players. Like, I don't think Adam Silver has been fantastic. I don't think he's been terrible. I feel like the play-in has been a home run in terms of just bringing more eyeballs to the game, making the last few weeks of the season, making those last couple of days before the playoffs really interesting. Because I just look the Western Conference these last couple of years, we've had Steph Curry in it, we've had LeBron James in it. This year we might have AD and Kyrie in it. So I always feel like there's more opportunities for teams and legacy defining players to get involved. But the All-Star game this past week, I put it on the players, and more so just the TV broadcast more than anything. Because I actually do think, like we said on the live stream, I thought the first couple of games were really good, specifically that second game when it came to the Rising Stars against the OGs, I think. But once they had the fucking 30-minute intermission with the TNT crew and all the commercials and performances, that's when it went downhill. I feel like up until that point, we were getting a pretty good product for what the All-Star game is. But for whatever reason, the plan this year, and that was going around on Reddit, what it was like 80-something minutes of ads and like 30 minutes, 30 minutes of actual game time. It's like, that's just ridiculous. You already have all of these NBA games, 8 o'clock start. That shit starts at 8:15. That's kind of what the NBA is known for at this point, is a running joke of not being able to start things on time. And then they took this to the millionth degree, and it was terrible. But yeah, I think having some sort of incentive for winning it, I know the popular thing is home court advantage, but then there's just also a lot of teams that, like, I don't know, like this Trae Young on the Hawks thing. I don't know. Trae Young's a competitor, so he probably does. Maybe not a good example, but there's just going to be a lot of guys that don't really have a chance to win the championship. Or is that really going to be the extra motivating factor? Is $1 million to these guys who are making $40, $50 million really going to matter? Even if you do $1 million a piece, not even split amongst the group. So I think it's a really hard position to be in if you're Adam Silver, because this starts with the players, right? Like LeBron, KD, Curry, this kind of generation 2010s and beyond. I feel like, outside of how great they've been for the game, but for the All-Stars, this is what they're known for, to not taking it seriously. And Draymond Green's comments about it, which we're going to get to in a bit, that's on you. Like, there's a reason why Adam Silver has tried all of these different things: point scores, tournaments, target scores, end of quarters, charities get this. Yeah. They are trying to find ways to get players to care, because the real format that has been tried and true for years and years and years, it stopped working.
No, it's not. And I feel like it's just a pride thing. Like, they have to, it's an honor to be in the All-Star game. And I think there has to be real consequences for not taking it serious. I think that's the next plan of action, where Adam Silver, he wants to be buddies with everybody in the league. It's a players-run league. But at some point, if you're not taking the All-Star game seriously, then what's the point of you even being in the weekend? Let's give these spots to people that are going to take it more seriously. I have optimism for the future of it, because Victor Wembanyama tends to have pride in it, so he could be somebody that sets a tone for the newer generation. Yeah, and rightfully so, because
and
Sengun
Tatum
didn't
should be
try.
pissed off because he should have won All-Star MVP. He should go into next season. I'm gonna break my record.
Huh? He missed a couple. He missed that wide open corner three.
He was 9 for 11.
Game, right? Yeah, he missed
game-winning dunk too, by the way, to win the championship.
Fair enough.
Really, nobody remember that moment though.
You sure?
Yeah, because I saw
I've never had less
was
confidence.
7 for 17. He's 8 for 11.
But I think that what the NFL has shown is that the All-Star festivities for them, the Pro Bowl festivities, it could be something that's not watched and not affect the actual TV product.
Yeah.
Because the NFL is very much still king of views. I think the issue is that fans feel like what the All-Star game and the presentation of what the game was is what they get for regular NBA games too. Mm-hmm. It feels like a lot of the issues there, the effort issues, the chucking up three-point shots issues, all those things you see in real NBA games, the advertisements, the media timeouts, the amount of time it takes to end a game. There's 2 minutes left in a game, and that lasts for like 20 minutes when you're watching a game. So I feel like just the pace of it could be a lot faster. And I don't feel like it'll ever be fixed unless Adam Silver actually puts in a rule change. The NFL has rule changes where they've experimented with some stuff, and sometimes it hasn't worked, but they quickly pivoted and then they went back to what did work. With the NBA, it's as long as threes are worth 50% more than twos, that is going to be the shot that everybody is taking. So there has to be something that maybe is changed within that to even it out a little bit so you get more diverse style of play, because the Nuggets this year, they're last in 3-point attempts per game. They're still one of the best teams in the NBA while being last. 10 years ago, they would have been number 2 in 3-pointers attempted per game. So that just goes to show just the way the game is moving, the way the game has already moved. And in order to get a different product, there has to be different rule change. As long as the rules stay intact, the product is going to remain the same.
I'll give the NFL credit. No one, including the NFL and like the execs, really give a fuck about the Pro Bowl. I don't know if it's that it's the week before the Super Bowl, so anything anyone's talking about is Super Bowl related. Because the All-Star game, there's so much. I don't know if anticipation is the right word, but like we have the All-Star selection, right? We do our All-Star predictions. Who has been snubbed? We talk about that, I guess, some in the NFL, but very quickly, right? Like maybe a 10-minute segment.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal at all.
The NBA makes this a big deal.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
NBA makes the All-Star Weekend a grand thing. They want to promote it.
The NFL, they kind of, I think they realize like the Pro Bowl is a joke. No one really cares. No one cares about like the dodgeball and like they do all of this weird shit. Like they put on different gloves and they just don't market it. At least I don't see any advertising for the Pro Bowl, for the Pro Bowl games. Every single year, like Thursday or Friday comes up and I see them doing some sort of competition. I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what channel it's on. I don't know how to watch it.
I haven't watched that shit since I was in like 2nd grade.
Yeah, so I give them respect for just saying this isn't working. We're not going to put any sort of like real support or money behind advertising it. It exists. If you want to watch it, Google it and figure it out. But the NBA, it's the opposite. It's a huge deal, and media is part of that for sure. Media, builds up all of the snubs and who deserves and who doesn't. But the All-Star break is also like a landing mark in the calendar. Like this is meaningful.
And I know that when we criticize the NBA and just the style of play, people might go like, "Oh, the NBA is great. There's nothing wrong with it." And maybe that's true for you. There's very much people that enjoy what's happening in the style of play and how they play right now. I still very much enjoy the NBA, but there's not only a growing majority of fans, casual fans, and players alike that are saying the same thing about the game. And I think, we can't just brush off what these players are saying when they say it, because they're the ones that are playing these games. They're the ones that are watching and that are in tune with basketball the most. Mm-hmm. And Draymond Green's comments being inside the NBA and hosting the All-Star game and being as critical as he was, his exact statements were, it's just who can run faster, who can hit more threes. It's no substance. I think it's very boring. I feel like he is the latest example of a player complaining about the style of play. We got an abundance of Eddie Johnson tweets, an old-time player who was complaining about it as well. And I think some critiques are warranted, but what can't be dismissed is that if these many players, the very best players, Hall of Fame players, are saying something with the game needs to change, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And I don't think Draymond is the only person that said it. If I'm not mistaken, I think LeBron has even made some comments towards the style of play and what's going on recently. There's an abundance of NBA players, present and former, that have already said, hey, listen, we don't like the way this is trending. And as the commissioner, Adam Silver has to take that and do something about it. You can't just expect that it's all fine and, it's going to go over. It's just going to go away.
Wasn't this Curry's partial idea? Like, what didn't Adam Silver and the NBA get with Steph because it was in San Francisco and they said, like, let's create something together? I don't think this was just like Adam Silver and the NBA front office or whatever just putting this together.
I genuinely wouldn't know.
I'm not talking about like the teams and stuff. I'm not even talking about the All-Star. Yeah, I'm not even talking about the All-Star game no more. I'm just talking about just the style of play, NBA basketball, because that's what Draymond Green criticized.
I understand that. I think it's a lot of old heads that are looking at this and saying, it's not taking 12 seconds for us to get into our sets where the game was so slow back in the day. I think it's a lot like the NFL and how much the NFL progressed from being a run-dominant league in the 60s to the 90s, and then in the 2000s we started to see more and more teams win through passing the football, and the speed of the game changed, and the score and the output offensively changed a lot. Now, I believe in the NFL they can kind of give a bone more to defenses and even the playing field for offense to be a little more challenging. But the same applies for basketball, where the product is better, but I think a lot of fans more traditionally are used to watching a set taking 10, 12 seconds to get into. The game is slow. It's easier to digest. Nowadays, it's a lot more rampant. But I think really to me personally, someone that watched that growing up, that version of the NBA, I don't think there's a problem right now with the way the game is being played. There are some teams that people maybe hyper fixate on, but to be quite honest with you, I think it's an over talked about point, especially in the United States, where people are just looking to complain. Because to me, the actual play style and the game itself, it has not gotten worse. I do believe that there are some issues with maybe the presentation and the structure of the season. I would say that maybe 82 games is too much because with how much athletes are playing leading up to the NBA with AAU basketball, they may play all year round. A guy like a Zion or Alonzo Ball then comes to the NBA with these injury issues, and those only get worse when you're playing so many games in this NBA calendar season. But I don't have any gripes with the way the game's played, personally.
I saw this tweet. I wish I got his name, but he dropped something that I think goes to what you were saying, or the opposite. These are the top 5 offenses in NBA in their specialty. So the Cavs are 1. They're second in pick and rolls, 6 in cuts. Knicks are 2. They're top 10 in ISOs, spot ups, cuts. Nuggets are 3. They're number 1 in spot ups, number 1 in cuts. And like you said, they don't take a ton of threes. Mm-hmm. Celtics are 3rd in post ups, 3rd in ISOs. And then the Grizzlies are number 1 in transition, number 1 in spot ups. So there's still, like, with those 5 offenses, and I'm glad it's those 5 because I've watched 3 of those teams more than probably anybody in the league. Specifically the Cavs, the Grizzlies, and who's the other teams I named?
The
Cavs, Grizzlies, Nuggets, I'll use them. And Boston. All of those teams, top 5, they all play different. Yeah. None of them play remotely the same, specifically grabbing Memphis and Boston. I'll use those 2 specifically. Boston and Memphis are 2 completely different infrastructures, 2 completely different offense. They go about it a different way. And I think Draymond Green, I think he has some validity to his point, but I also think he might be speaking towards like maybe 2 or 3 teams.
Like the bad trash teams.
Yeah, the bad trash teams as opposed to the whole NBA landscape. Because I think, and I think he's coming from a place where he's seen beautiful basketball within his team. Nobody's going to be like those Golden State teams from 2014 to 2019. That was, whether we hate KD or not, that was one of the most beautiful basketball we've ever seen in our lifetime. That was just beautiful basketball from point guard to center of just constant ball movement, off-ball screening, a lot of double screaming, a lot of hammer to the right side. Like, there was just so much beautiful implements of basketball in it that he's come from that cloth to where he's comparing that to the teams now. You're not going to get that. Like, Boston is the team that takes the most threes now. Compare them to Golden State. They're they get it in 2 completely different ways. You're not going to get a shit ton of plays like you got in Golden State as opposed to Boston. It's a lot of dribble penetration, kick out, and stuff like that. It's just completely different. So I think Draymond, where he's speaking from is from the fact that he played on probably 2 or 3 of the greatest teams we've ever seen, and also some of the most beautiful basketball we've ever seen.
Right, and people don't have these gripes in the playoffs. You notice it's in the regular season where people are looking for something to talk about. It's an 82-game-long season for 6 months damn near. And because of that, a lot of the game is being less, especially for those bottom feeder teams which are rebuilding and maybe tanking to get a top-end prospect, which has been more prevalent, teams bottoming out. But how often do you see people complain about the play style and the style of play in April to June? Because I personally never see it. If I do, it's because that person doesn't like basketball and they're not watching the game. That's my
I really sometimes wish we could just get like all of Twitter one night. Everyone just sits down and watches a game from like the 90s or early 2000s, and we say, is this what you want basketball to be? Because, I mean, you just go and see just random clips, random highlights. You got 2 dudes posting up on the same side. You got dudes coming off screens for fucking long 2s. I don't think in reality people want that. I think, John, you're right. People just look for stuff to complain about. We've been talking about, the state of the NBA and too many threes and all things like that. But, Riv, I mean, you broke it down with those numbers. All of these top offenses, all the top teams in the NBA, they play differently. If you want to look for specific things, if you want to get pissed off at Boston for taking too many threes, or you want to get pissed at Cat because he's 7 foot taking all of these threes, you could do it. But at the end of the day, that's not going to change anything because it's going to be the most efficient offense, which is going to lead for the most wins. And with that being said, there's nights where Cat's going to be off. There's nights where Boston shoots 27% and lose. So there's still situations where if, you don't hit shots, or if you don't play defense that, or you have bad offense, which translates into bad defense, you're still going to lose games. But I don't know. I just think people like to complain too much.
Even with the teams playing differently, I think that it's unfair for Draymond to just paint the league as accidental basketball because he's probably talking about a team like the Hornets and stuff like that.
When he was on that JJ, when him and JJ was on that podcast, and Kobe said it too.
The Hornets, they take a ton of threes and that's how they do their thing, and that's like comparing, like, oh, I don't like the Hornets and how they play, and trying to just outcast the entire league.
Yeah.
And then 10 years ago going like, oh, the Bobcats, I hate the way they play basketball. You're always going to find those bad teams. But I think what there is validity to is that this year, there's been more blowouts in the NBA than any time in NBA history. And even though those teams play differently with their play styles, the end goal is to attempt a 3-point shot. And with those, and outside of Denver, and with that end goal, if you have a bad shooting night, another team has a good shooting night, you're probably going to get blown out. So I think that back in the day, games were much closer.
They were lower scoring too.
For good and bad reasons.
Less talented also.
Because back 15 years ago, when a team was down 10 points, that felt like being down 30 back in the day. Like, you were down 10 points, that's going to be hard to come from. Now you're down 10 points, and it's like, okay, you get 2-3 stops,
20,
and you
like,
hit 2-3 threes, you're back in the game already. We're seeing comebacks like that. But I think just because back then the games were much closer from quarter 1 to quarter 4, that might have made the viewing experience more enjoyable, where now it's, okay, a team might have a great first half with a 15-point lead, but in the second half, that might evaporate because of a cold shooting streak, and now you get 2 different games where one game is lopsided, and then the second half is lopsided, favoring one other team, and I feel like, I think the game is kind of in the middle for me. I don't think it's the most, enjoyable viewing product ever, but I don't think it's as bad as people try to paint it out to be. And with all these players saying something, I mean, there has to be some validity to it.
I don't know. I think there's part of that's the fun though. Like, you can come back. I was watching last night, Game 3, Dallas Celtics.
He was bored.
Yeah, I was, because there's no basketball, there's nothing on, right? And I was because I'm thinking of Game 2. I'm like, this is the game where it's like 101-99 at the end. JB hits a clutch shot in the mid range, and I'm watching. I'm like, hold on, Boston's up 21 early fourth quarter. Like, was this a different game? And it's like, no, Dallas came back from 21 down in the fourth quarter. Like, again, 15 years ago, you were not seeing that. We won the fucking game. But that's also, I think, the positive side of 3-point shooting is you're never out of a game. You could be down 20 in the fourth quarter and come back, and with a minute left to go, you have the ball down 2 points.
Shit, same series, not series, same playoff thingy.
Yeah, same.
Clippers were up, I think, 28 on the Mavericks in the first round. And they were blitzing them. And then you've seen like a late Dallas Fury that made the game. So, and that's where you get the PG in the corner, the big three, and then James Harden, them playing defense really weird, let him go left or something. It was like, but it was, like you mentioned, like they were down 28. You get that feeling of the home crowd. You hit 1 3. It's like, all right. You hit 2. They call timeout, like, all right, let's before they even, then you hit the third, they come out, you hit the third one, you get a stop.
All of a sudden, it's an 11-point game.
Yeah, now it's like, all right, everybody's getting back up, we're back in. And that's like the fun, enjoyable part about it. But at the same time, how you do it? I think that's the problem. How do you do it? Is it like Draymond's not the first person who said it. Like Kobe said it, LeBron said it. Accidental basketball. If you go to the rim, you kick out. It's like, all right, we know where you're going with this. Or like, there's no truly great. I don't want to say that because I feel like that's disrespectful. But there's not a shit ton of truly elite, offensive schemes. A lot of it, like the Cavs. I'll use the Cavs for example, because their offensive scheme isn't something that's different or it's so impossible to understand. And no, it's very simple. It's very pick and roll-esque. Very, you have guys in the corner. You have guys that cut off the back screens. You have the big man making the little pocket pass down to the paint. It's nothing difficult to understand, but it's effective. It's useful. It's something that has led them to 40-plus wins. It's something that's kept their offense at a high going rate. And I think the discrepancy for me, for real, is the talent. Because a lot of you take a team with that offensive system, you grab a team from 2004, they're not winning 40-plus games because they just don't have the talent that we have now. Nowadays, it used to be a 3-and-D guy. Now a 3-and-D guy requires a little bit more than just your average 3 or D guy. Like there's a lot of that going on.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I feel like whenever a player has a big-time performance, they have 30 points, 40 points, and even sometimes 50 points, and you go look at the highlight on YouTube, almost every big performance happens because they hit like 9 or 10 threes. Mm-hmm. That's usually the case. And you're not getting like variance. Like these 40 points from each player to player usually all happen the same way. Oh, he hit like 8, 9 threes. Like Scoot Henderson, I think, had 30 or 40 the other night. And I was watching his highlights, and The only difference is that he was hitting threes when players went under the screen, and he hit like 8 or 9 of them. That's the only difference. But it wasn't like he did anything differently, or the shots were coming from different places. And I feel like that's the thing that, like, a lot of these big performances, it's not like these shots are coming from different places. And that's where, I went back and I was looking at Kevin Durant, OKC highlights, MVP season, and the way he got his buckets was just so spread out. And I feel like that's the way that people want, I guess, players across the league to play, just more differently. But it feels like a lot of players, there are certain characteristics that are different about how they play. Right. But for the most part, in order to be a very high volume scorer, you have to take about 8 to 10 threes a night.
That's valid. But we see so much variance of those guys like Jokic that takes 4 threes a game. And he gives you offense from all those spots on the floor. Same goes with Luka. I feel like we do get that mix.
Sure, SGA. They hate SGA, but he can give it to you every way.
But a big game from, let me ask you, a big game from Anthony Edwards and Donovan Mitchell offensively, how does that look like?
They're taking 12, 13 threes, bro.
He missed, though. He could get it. Like, he can get to the rim. He loves the mid-range. I think Ant before last year, because I feel like Ant transitioned to that because people kept talking about
this year. He transitioned to that, but this year he has transitioned into that because that's the way you got to play the game.
Elite. Like he's also been the best 3-point shooter in the league down there.
I will say part of it too is kind of preserving your body for the postseason, not having that same wear and tear. Possibly, it gets easier to take it through on your body.
Yeah.
My one gripe, if someone's going to have something, I think NBA players offensively get away with too much, whether it's fully extending a forearm and kind of refs not cracking down on that. It leads to more stops in the game. I can kind of resonate with people saying there should be less stoppages. And I feel like part of why scoring's higher is because some of these superstars do get whistles, but I feel like they get too many advantages. That also goes for football, too, with kind of quarterbacks having more leeway. So I think there's some structure in officiating that maybe you can say it should be kind of geared a little bit more into the hand of the defense, having more of a fair opportunity. But other than that, I kind of feel like we do get that scoring variety still. It's just, it kind of comes back to those same teams that people hyperfixate on. But if you want to see that variety, you watch Jokic, you watch Luke, you watch Kawhi in the 4 months that he plays, or even Giannis this year. So
the 4 months that he plays.
That's what it is. It's objective.
That was rude.
Do you want me to blow smoke up his ass and say he plays all year round?
You could just say he watched him play ball.
You should take 4 months and run with
the 4 months that he played.
He could have just said, see Kawhi play ball. That's all he could have said.
That's on me.
Kawhi is a tactician.
Kevin Durant became the 8th player to reach 30,000 points.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm looking at it. I feel like
it's a milestone. It's a moment.
The early part of his career has gotten so underrated throughout time. He averaged 30 in his 3rd season in the league.
Amazing.
Special.
And then he went on a tear. If it wasn't for LeBron James, KD would have had a 5 to 6 year stretch where he was the unanimous best player in the world.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
What year was those?
Probably from 2011 to 2016.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Dwight was coming down. He had D Rose got hurt. Kobe was still around when Kobe was coming down. Yeah.
Steph at the end maybe, but
I mean Steph right there.
Yeah, Steph he just caught him late, but yeah, for sure.
But I think KD, I don't think it's crazy to say he's the best scorer in history.
Yeah, Tatum wasn't in the league yet.
His arsenal, you look at his arsenal and looking at everybody else that scored 30,000 points. He got the best one. I know LeBron James has the most points ever, but he's not a better scorer than Kevin Durant.
Jordan.
He doesn't have
MJ.
just as a pure scorer, but MJ couldn't shoot like Kevin Durant.
Well, different eras.
It's probably because
MJ grew up in 2010, bro. He's fucking hitting 40% of his threes.
You got to think like MJ does not have the 3 ball like Kevin
Durant. KD grew up in the 90s.
Oh, okay, I guess, but also he
KD can't shoot the midi like MJ.
I mean,
close.
But he doesn't have the post work like MJ. He's not as athletic at MJ. He can't get to the rim like MJ.
How many threes was KD taking early in his career?
4 to 5.
That probably was way more than MJ. Like
Kevin Durant, his first step for his size was remarkable.
That's a fact.
Like there's a reason why he led OKC to the finals being that young.
So he was taking more threes when he was
first 2 years
in OKC than he is now.
2.5, 3. I mean,
he is.
Yeah, I mean, by year 4, he's
24
taking 5
years later, so it's completely different.
On top of that, MJ in the playoffs, dude, like 35 a game, 36.
KD averaged 35 in the finals.
Nah, MJ did it for like series, like straight. Like this dude averaged 41 in the finals.
Like I'm looking at KD from 2009 to 2014. This was 21 to 25 years old. 29 points, 49% from the field, 38% from 3, 89% from the free throw line. He's basically 50, 40, 90.
Jordan had a couple years where he averaged like 3 threes, right? I'm looking at 89, 90, 38%.
The line was short. Those are long middies.
Okay, but even still, in that era, it's a 3-point shot.
Yeah, I think
he's stepping out more than what a lot of the other players
I think
were.
relative to era, he'd probably be like a 34% 3-point shooter.
I'm sorry, bro.
42%.
So you're telling me the only score better than Michael Jordan is the only score better than Kevin Durant is Michael Jordan. That's what you're telling me.
Hey, you got to put Kobe up there.
Kobe's not a better scorer than KD.
I don't think he's a better scorer than KD.
He's up there though.
Pure score, I don't think
he's up there because he is a James Harden fan, and I have James Harden in my top 5.
But James Harden's a better offensive player than KD. He's not a better scorer.
The thing that hurts James Harden is in the playoffs, he never kind of maintained that level of play.
It's his efficiency.
That's why I do.
Why is Kevin Durant just outright a better scorer than Kobe? I'm curious.
Efficiency
is way more efficient.
Tougher era.
This is a combo.
They played in the same
era.
They
overlapped in the 2000s.
No, they did not.
What are you talking about? KD played in a tough era too.
Kobe played in a tougher defensive era with no spacing.
That really matters a lot.
That matters.
KD had no spacing. He had Russell Westbrook, Thomas Philadelphia
for the first half of KD's career. The second half.
KD had no space.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't hate that. I wouldn't put him outright over Kobe. Like
Harden, I think he's a better offensive player than KD. But if we're talking about purely a bucket, KD's a better.
I would have KD over.
You can't just put him over LeBron outright either. LeBron is also
better, but KD's better scorer than LeBron.
That's close.
LeBron's a better offensive player.
Better jump shooter than LeBron.
LeBron to the rim downhill is not.
I mean, KD at the rim was fucking awesome too. Like he was,
especially in his prime.
LeBron at the rim clears.
No, of course. But KD had.
LeBron had the middies.
He just had the middies. He was better as a shooter.
It wasn't KD's midi, I don't think.
But it was LeBron midi in Miami. Oh man, I can't put him out.
And LeBron's 3-point shooting just got on these last couple of years too. KD's been like this forever.
That speaks on Kevin Durant. No, that speaks on
LeBron for sure.
I think there's just so many. There's different versions of LeBron James, and if you combine all the versions of LeBron James, you get the peak everything, right? Because right now he's shooting at a very efficient clip from 3, but you look at early LeBron Cavs, he could not shoot. He couldn't shoot. Like at 21 years old, KD versus LeBron, KD
it's kind of nuts that like his free throw, like he's such a great 3-point shooter. And his free throws has always been like just an average 3-point shooter.
Luka, it's a good example.
After the loss to the Mavericks, that's when his post game improved it to an elite level.
Look at Kevin Durant's finishing numbers his early.
I was looking it up actually on Clean the Glass today. They're fucking elite. Yeah.
Also, like lower frequency because he's someone that's able to score from so many different spots. But you can double check the frequency for me. Number 1 to me, when we're ranking the greatest scorers of all time, it's MJ. And then I think it's everybody else who's lumped into this category. You got Kobe, you got KD. I think a name that's often overlooked because he is really someone that always makes the right play first is Jokic. Because in the postseason, he always raised his level of scoring. People have him to be in that discussion, but I think Jokic is in that top 5 to 10. No one puts him there because of how well-rounded his game is. But when you need him to scale up to giving you 30 points a game on hyper good efficiency, he's done that. In the playoffs, he's shooting 40% from 3. You look at the greatest, most efficient 3-point shooters in postseason history, he is right there. People talk about Cat being the best 3-point shooting big man of all time.
Yeah.
You compare his 3-point shooting in the playoffs to Jokic, where that's the stage that matters most. It's not really debatable who's been the more efficient player. So I think Jokic is someone that deserves to be in that second tier.
You need a bucket. You're going with Jokic over KD. Just one-on-one, need to score a bucket.
That's a great question. I would.
You're not going with Jokic, bro.
I'll go with KD.
Hey,
just a pure bucket.
Look. I had to look it up real quick just to make sure I'm not tweaking. So, damn. Continue. I lost.
You want a bucket from anyone?
Sorry.
5 guys
just no them individually. One-on-one. You got the floor spaced out. Elite shooters. Nobody's helping.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you got no one helping Jokic, one-on-one is going to batter somebody in the post. So.
Not over OKC KD. He's getting a bucket on anybody.
Hey. Oh, Kevin Durant's 3rd year. LeBron in that same year. Better at the rim, better in the non-restricted area, better at the mid-range.
KD
what
or
were the
LeBron?
mid-range numbers, though?
Which season are we looking at?
Braun was at...
This is just year 3?
Yeah, I just grabbed that specific year because he was talking about it.
That's 2009. That was LeBron MVP LeBron.
Yeah, that was... So Kevin Durant was at... Damn. Kevin Durant was at 39. Braun was at 39. I lied. I had to round it.
From mid-range?
Yeah, mid-range. They both were at 39%.
Yeah, Joel, I'm going to be so real with you. If you're not sending a double and you're leaving Jokic one-on-one with somebody in an island, I am taking him to give
Braun
me a
was at 75 in the restricted area.
You leave Jokic one-on-one in an island?
I mean, you leave
Who
Kevin
would you
Durant.
rather have? KD or Jokic?
And what?
Give you a bucket.
To get a bucket, you need a bucket at the end of the game.
We're not
one last
factoring
bucket.
passing. There's no double teams. You're playing.
It don't matter. Just, best defender for both of them, I guess.
The Joker.
I'm taking
Just take him over to get a bucket over KD?
Yeah,
Who is the best defender for Joker, really?
Nobody.
It's not AD.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh, we're doing all time.
Then on KD, you got...
taking the greatest defender.
We got Jaden McDaniels
Then on
on
KD, you
KD.
got Bruce Bowen. Or Tony Allen.
No, we got
Tony Allen might strap
we got 22 Tatum on KD.
I would say
That's getting locked
Duncan's
up.
the best. Last 20 years, I'd say Duncan.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. What about Ben Wallace?
I like that a lot too.
Ben Wallace, Rasheed. Damn. All right, so you talk about Tim Duncan.
Really like
this is a cool hypothetical. See, this is a fun one. So you got Tim Duncan guarding
we
the
know
Joker.
who's winning a one-on-one. KD would smoke Jokic.
So Tim Duncan's guarding the Joker. And who's guarding Kevin Durant? We need somebody higher than Bruce Bowen.
Kawhi?
Scottie Pippen.
Now Kawhi.
Last 20 years.
Two of
so
the
Kawhi?
best perimeter defenders.
Okay, so Kawhi guarding KD,
Yeah.
Tim Duncan guarding
Kawhi can't
the
guard
Joker.
KD. He cannot guard KD, bro.
Yeah, Bron.
Look at the
Look at
the OKC, the conference finals versus
They
the
played a few times, is what I'm saying.
They did.
Every time one of them got hurt though.
Yo,
every time.
that's actually a tough question.
One of the
Tim Duncan
biggest
versus the
what-ifs.
Joker and Kawhi versus KD.
We've never seen Kawhi versus KD like healthy for a full series.
We've
17, Kawhi
Tim
got
Duncan
hurt.
versus the
19,
Wow.
KD got hurt. Played one game, 10 minutes in that series. 21, obviously, Kawhi got hurt. So and they didn't play
Game
the
on the
finals,
line. You're going peak Jokic to get a bucket over peak KD.
I think in that scenario, I trust KD over Kawhi. Tim Duncan, I don't know.
Tim Duncan versus Jokic can go a lot of.
Tim Duncan, I don't know. Tim Duncan is a stout defender.
So disciplined in the post.
He's not falling for none of that dumb shit.
I feel like his anchor is kind of like
KD plus
Jokic.
KD's 7 feet, Kawhi 6'7". I know he got the long arms.
Yeah.
KD also got long arms. KD, you can't really shake him off his game. But we know he going left pull up.
I'm gonna be real with you. I would take Kawhi in 1v1 over KD, and then Duncan versus Jokic. I think will go either way. I'll be torn on that.
Kawhi's a one-on-one player. So that's
Kevin Durant is best.
Kawhi's best is OD.
Kawhi's
best is
I don't know.
OD.
One-on-one situation.
One-on-one, I'm going with KD over anybody one-on-one.
Yeah,
You're overlooking Pete Kawhi. I mean,
No, I'm not. You're overlooking
Who gets the
Kevin
ball
Durant.
first? That's where the question. Who gets
Jump
the ball
ball.
first? Jump ball? Oh, right, Kevin Durant. Because whoever gets the ball first, you can't stop these NBA players. Even guys like Paul George in a one-on-one, Devin Booker, these guys are so hard to stop in a one-on-one. They get to their spot. It's over. This is your job.
John, lock in.
Lock in,
I don't
John.
do this.
Do you know how to do it?
No.
Okay.
Kevin Durant, though, I think he's like a top 3 scorer. If we're just talking ability, I think he's like top 3, top 2 for sure.
Oh my God.
Plus,
So
he's an Olympic scorer all time. She's kind of
Yeah.
Kevin Durant I'm gonna just go from basically from his third season. His third season on. He finished 69% at the rim, 91 percentile. Then he finished 77% at the rim, 96 percentile, then 71%, 71%, 77%, 77%, 71%,
It's
Can you take a look
78%.
at the frequency? Kind of curious to know how regularly he's taking shots inside.
Most of these
4
are,
feet.
let me see, after the third season, 414 attempts at the rim, 277, then 304, then
You give me percentage of
343.
shots?
No, I can't get you all
think
that,
you can do
John.
frequency.
I can do that.
Frequency, bro. I'll tell you.
Instead of accuracy, do frequency.
Yeah,
Go
brother.
to the
Yes,
top.
yes.
Yeah, brother. I'll tell you
I
that.
can do it, but still,
You yelled at
I'll
John.
give it to
He
you.
was right.
I'll give it to you.
What?
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
Dude, just click.
Dude, what's wrong with you?
No, I'm
pull this
there
up.
already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty much when he was young, 25% or more of his shots were at the rim, which still wasn't high
No.
in terms of relative to the league and
20
stuff.
percentile, is that?
No,
25%
25% or more.
It
of
was
his
like
shots were at the
30th
rim.
percentile for the majority of those years.
That's low.
Yeah, but
it's
still,
understandable.
I'm looking at his percentile finishing numbers.
And that's
Third season on,
Yeah.
from I'll say first season at Golden State, 91 percentile, 96 percentile, 83rd percentile, 90 percentile, 98th percentile, 96 percentile, 89 percentile, 100 percentile.
Right.
In his first season in Golden State, he finished 78% of his shots at the rim.
That is shit.
Absurd.
Asterisk.
Of course.
And all the spacing in the
And
world.
then from mid range, after his third season, 42%, 42%, 45%, 46%, 43%, 47%, 50% in his final year in OKC.
Shout
And
out to KD, man. That's a
49%.
legend.
One of the
His
cool
first year in Golden
features-
State.
It's got some great moments, too.
One of the best features in Clean the Glass, a little bit off topic, if you click on the percentile, it'll show you players in that exact range. So you look at 2016 Kevin Durant, his frequency of shots at the rim, and it shows you players in that same ballpark.
Yeah.
First 5 names are guys like Nikola Mirotic, Robert Covington.
Mirotic, for real?
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
One of our guys, Kyle Anderson, shout out to Jersey. I think Ryan Anderson as well, and then Paul George as well off his leg
Ryan
injury.
Anderson.
Yeah.
He was more of a jump shooter.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
surprised.
for sure.
So it
You
kind
know
of
him?
shows you that
Of course.
exact range.
Come on, you know I know my white big man who can
Yeah.
shoot. It's my game.
Yep.
Is that right?
At his best, I think last year in OKC, 77%, at the rim, 50% on mid-range shots.
I love Quentin Post.
My goodness.
Quentin Post is a bucket. He can shoot that.
He's a what?
He's a bucket.
Quentin Post
He's the second coming to Bielitsa. You know
Bucket is diabolical.
he can shoot that thing. Like
He can. With Bucket,
definitely shoot.
Bielitsa with a little
Bucket
less
was
playmaking.
so strong.
We're just putting Bucket on
Let's look
everybody.
at let's see
I mean,
if
he
Kobe
does
Bryant
shoot,
has
you know
any
what I'm
cleaning the glass numbers.
He probably does for sure.
You're sleeping on Quentin Post.
No,
Second
I
round
think
pick contributing.
brother, you called him a bucket. It's not sleeping shit. You called him a bucket.
You did go a little bit too far, John.
I was no, I had a little bit of fun. God forbid.
No, I ain't
He's
for
a
it.
God
bucket.
forbid.
Who's
a
the
guy
worst player that's a bucket, John? Quentin Post
in the
might be
NBA?
it.
All right, well, if I'm gonna be real with you, like the worst bucket in the game.
So Kobe Bryant at the rim was
Probably absurd.
he's in the 65 percentile. This is starting from 03 to 04. This is all they have. So
Shake Milton.
65 percentile, 69, then 75, then 67, then 79, then 85, then 41, then 53, then 81, then 83, then 98.
That's percentile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
You want the percentage?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more.
So from 03 to 04, 60%, 60%, 60%, 61%, 64%, 66%, 58%, 61%, 65%, 65%, 75%, 52%, 60%.
You know, I think KD is a better scorer than Kobe, but if like the game's on the line last shot, I would rather have Kobe than KD.
They do not, unfortunately, have Michael Jordan.
I'd rather have Kobe
Yeah,
over
killing
anybody,
goes back
honestly, in a
to,
situation like that.
2000s.
Let's look at who's James Harden. Let's go James Harden. Let's check his shit.
Oh my God.
James Harden
God,
shit
it's
probably.
done, man.
Yeah,
He's
the
just
finishing
cleaning the
numbers
glass.
are insane.
First time.
Yeah, this shit's
Just
probably
a
nuts.
Joel Glaze fest right here.
James Harden.
Here we go. Shooting
People
accuracy.
forget about him. People talk about SGA doing something.
Forget
that's
about who?
James Harden. Yeah, they forget about him because they
You
think
forgot about him.
what SGA is doing right now is something that hasn't been done since Michael Jordan went. Harden literally did that.
Yeah.
A couple
Actually,
years
he
ago.
did it. His numbers are actually much lower than SGA's. I'm looking
Peak
at
Harden?
him. I'm looking at him.
17, 18.
I have him.
Yeah, 17, 18.
So it starts 09, 2010.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about 17.
Oh, you want me to
18.
just jump
Just-
to?
yeah,
Okay,
just tell
let's
me
jump
his
to Houston.
prime.
Let's just jump to Houston.
17, 18.
So we're gonna start 15, 16. We're gonna start
Okay.
there. Okay,
That's valid.
So the first year at the rim, 61%. 16, 17, 65%. 17, 18, 63%. 18, 19, 59%. And then the last 2 years in Houston, 64%, 64%. Now let's head over to SGA.
At the rim.
Yes, this is at the rim. Let's head over to the Demon.
No, I think what I'm learning from this is that KD at the rim was just a god. I mean,
Yeah, no, he's
77%?
He just, the only thing, he doesn't have the same
Volume as that. No, for sure.
But it makes sense. He's a jump shooter. SGA at the rim.
This year?
This year,
65% rate.
72%.
72%?
72%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's career
Last
high.
year was 69%. Yeah, brother, it's not close.
72% is career high.
What was
right?
Harden? 17, 18? What was his
He
number?
was 63.
Damn. Okay.
And his
Not great.
percentile, he's in the top 80 percentile. Harden was in like the 50, 60.
Really? It's
Yeah.
only 80th percentile. Can they have him as like a wing instead of a guard?
Last year was 88.
Because if they have an 80th percentile and shooting 72% at the rim,
Yeah, this is all
he'd be
guards.
like
Like
99%.
he's under guys like
top
Jalen
5%.
Suggs. This year he's under guys like Jalen Suggs, Marcus Sasser, Payne Pritchard, and then
Is that the rim?
higher than guys like Monte Morris, De'Aaron Fox, Jordan Poole.
I mean, I'm assuming some of those dudes' frequency is a lot lower.
yeah.
For sure. Like, no, Jordan Poole's a 71 percentile.
Well, I'm
At the
thinking.
rim.
No, I'm saying frequency.
Oh, frequency. Yeah,
accuracy,
for sure.
accuracy.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry.
How
Let's. Oh, wait. Maybe I'm looking at this shit all wrong. I'm in the accuracy the whole time. Here we go.
But we knew you're in accuracy.
No, he's at 71 percentile. He's next to guys like Tyrese Maxey, Jared Butler, Isaiah Collier, Cade Cunningham.
You always get such an interesting group when you look at
Yeah,
it.
this is frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably factoring in bigs too, because 30 percentile seems pretty low.
46% of Harden's shots were
Hmm.
at the three-point line in his prime.
That makes
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
ton of sense.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not higher.
It was 48% after, I would say, 15, 16 season, 16, 17 and on. 48%, 46%, 50%, 51%, 49% in Houston.
I respect that.
He literally almost every other shot was a three-point shot for him.
That's when you start taking him. He used to have a midi. His early couple days in
He
Houston,
did.
he used to have a midi on deck. Then he fell off, man.
Then he became the most unstoppable offensive force in NBA history.
Oh, that's goes to Steph, brother.
I don't know about that.
no,
Who'd
he-
win a one-on-one?
Oh, obviously Harden.
Yeah, of course.
Who'd win in
You know
life? Steph.
I don't know.
No, he already did it.
No,
So
Harden's living a great life.
Steph's life is damn near generation.
He's been having to sacrifice his greatness.
You saw how James Harden was talking about Steph? How he had nightmares in Oracle and how Steph changed the game. It's been a prop Steph
They
weekend.
had a lot of teammates to help him.
Yeah, it's been a dig rod in Steph weekend.
It has been, definitely.
Kyrie, Harden, LeBron, KD.
What do you think about Draymond's comments saying the Warriors win the finals? Like, get Jimmy Butler in, Steph
That's
play off the ball.
I say that is another check that Steph Curry has to cash. You saw him say it after he was like, Draymond's up there saying, we got to win the chip. So I
love
guess
having pressure expectations.
Yeah, he
What is the
completely
most help
capped.
Jimmy Butler's ever had in his career, right?
Most help Jimmy's ever had.
And in the sense of star power, yeah.
Star power, definitely.
Team, probably not.
Those Heat
So
teams
no
were
excuses,
really
John.
compete.
I mean, those Heat
And he had
teams were
Spo.
special.
Spo's clear.
Better
Pretty
than
awesome
Steph Curry and
teams.
Draymond Green?
Steph. Nobody's better.
And AirPods and Trey Jackson Davis.
Those
Pause
Heat
And
He's
teams.
Quinn
better than a
Post?
lot of
You just said Quinn Post was
Pause
bugging.
Hayward
You did say
Highsmith.
Quinn
I
Post
was-
was a bucket. That's like their 9th best player.
I was trolling.
You lost. He plays like 15 minutes.
I know. He did stars.
Yo, Hayward Highsmith and Brandon.
Hayward Highsmith.
Give me Hayward.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
like
I'm
Hayward.
trying to
love-
figure out the spectrum.
Hayward.
I agree.
I was fucking with you. I was making a joke. You guys, wherever your head's at.
You were dead ass.
I mean, he can really shoot it, but
No,
I
he
was
can. He can.
clearly joking. No,
We don't know, John. You tend to
But
overrate.
those Heat teams, I think we overlook how well-rounded they were. You have Goran Dragic and Hero playing super well. You have Duncan Robinson, and then even in the regular season, Kendrick Nunn balling out.
Yeah.
He was 3rd rookie of the year. They had 2nd rookie of the
can't
year.
That don't
Please,
matter.
bro.
All of them don't
And then
equate to
Bam
Steph.
Adebayo, of course. So Bam's been playing a lot better with
Yeah,
Khalil
man.
wearing
Shout
that
out to
five.
Bam.
We're back.
Now they got Khalil at that 5 spot. Bam with the 4. You better watch out, man.
Bam or
Better
Draymond
watch
Green?
out. Bam and Draymond Green?
Right now, it's Bam.
I'm thinking Bam. Yeah.
At their best?
At
Oh,
their
I thought
best.
it's just Draymond. Come on.
Draymond?
Well, today, this is what we're
Yeah,
talking
brother.
about.
But
What do you mean? It's not close. It's Draymond.
it's close.
No,
It's
fuck it's
close
not.
between Bam Adebayo and Draymond Green.
Dre in his prime, it's not close.
I mean, Bam and Adebayo in 2020. Come on.
Draymond in 2016.
Come on.
Draymond could have won
Draymond
Finals
in
MVP.
2022 was better than Bam in 2020.
I understand.
You know, John, you know how much I love Bam.
Bam got hurt game 1
And you know
versus
how
the
much he
Lakers.
hates
John,
Draymond.
He got hurt
John,
game 1 versus the Lakers.
John,
He
you
was
know
playing
how
well to
much
start that
I
game.
love
He was
Bam.
playing well to
I
start that
love him
game.
more than
He was
most.
playing quite
And
well.
you know how much I hate Draymond.
You
But
realize-
let's be serious.
You realize just how good Bam is. In the
I
defense.
know.
You realize just how
Just
good
so-
Draymond Green is?
I'll be honest, this is the
I know.
best guy to talk to because he fucking hates Draymond and he loves Bam.
He
would
I've-
trade him in a heartbeat
I've been,
for Bam.
yes, I've been dying
He would
here for
drive
Bam.
him to
I get
Miami.
it, but Bam back then was such a better offensive player.
Is he better connect?
He's never been a better
What is he
connector.
better
If we're gonna
offensively
use
at?
2016, where Draymond shot 40% from 3.
Oh, you could use his whole.
and I'm a little bit iffy on
There's
Golden State
never been
Power.
a moment in Bam's life where he was a better playmaker than Draymond Green.
No, I think Draymond's been a better playmaker.
That's fair. But I wonder if you put Bam next to Steph and Klay Thompson and Kevin
They
Durant,
look good.
how much better?
Okay,
do you
but what about when
He's in
they
a Spo
played?
system,
What
though.
about when they played the
I mean,
Blazers?
no, Bam is the system defensively. Let's get that clear.
What
What
about-
offense?
Yeah, but defensively,
Yes,
Bam
Draymond is also
Bam
the
is the
system.
reason.
Draymond is what Steph is on offense. That's what he is on our defense. He is the system.
I agree.
John, what
I
about
think Draymond is a top 5 defender of all time.
He doesn't hear
I
about the
think
Portland
Bam
series.
is a special defender.
John.
But offensively, I think he can close that gap just a little
Wait
bit.
till you hear this shit.
2019 Western Conference Finals?
Oh.
Kevin Durant doesn't play a minute in the
Didn't need
conference
him.
finals.
Sweep.
Draymond Green.
Triple-double,
lights
triple-double,
up
triple-double,
The
triple-double.
Blazers.
I understand.
He was the best player in that series. You could argue.
What? Wait.
He was. He was.
Wait,
He was impactful.
wait.
Yes,
Steph.
he was.
Talk about
Well,
Steph.
hey, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
You see,
Look
you
at the
had
numbers.
me.
You had to take it a
Look
step
at the
too
numbers.
You
far.
had me, and then you lost me.
Look at the numbers.
You could, if you would have said he was one of, you had me. But you went outright and just like he was the best. You lost me.
On both ends, yes. Defensively and what he did
Defensively,
offensively.
always the best. That's not a debate. Offensively, do you remember what Steph averaged that series? You don't.
You gotta
look it
remember
up.
what. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
What Draymond put up? Do you have those numbers?
Draymond had like 6. He
He was
averaged
averaging
16
like
a
six,
game.
he was averaging like a triple double, bro.
Yeah.
It was actually some insane shit. He's
But
taking
with
too
the
long.
exception of 2016, where Draymond shot 40% from 3, Bam's the better offensive player.
Whoa,
No, he's
Draymond
not.
shot 40% last year.
But it's small sample size.
We don't give a fuck. He's a big. We don't move. We don't care
No,
about
no,
something
you're
like
right.
that.
Bam doesn't shoot
Steph,
threes at
Steph
all,
averaged
so.
36. No, Draymond
Bam,
averaged.
it's his mid-range game in those prime years. It's not 3
Say that number again.
Draymond 36.
Who?
Steph.
Daddy.
Draymond averaged 17, 12, and 9.
Draymond was amazing.
With 2 steals and 3 blocks.
He's trying to add more to help.
He is. Listen, definitely the best
that
defensive
series,
player.
he was
for sure.
insane.
Yeah, he was. Just
I get that.
A little respect here.
There's never a moment Bam's been better defensively than Draymond either.
No,
That's a fact.
I wouldn't say that.
Never.
Well, now.
So what are you
Bam
trying to
is
say
such a
then,
good
John?
defender.
Never.
What I'm saying is
Never.
that
Never.
I think
What
Bam-
are you saying?
Never.
You love the Heat, don't you?
I just
Never.
think Bam-
Never.
Yeah.
He's
It's
gonna
never
keep
happened. I think Draymond's better than Bam defensively right now. Ooh. And he's older.
You have to stop. No, deadass. You have to stop disrespecting Bam. You've been saying a lot of disrespectful shit about his defense this year, and I don't like it. I've caught you 5 times.
Who's a better defender right now?
No. I've caught you a good amount of times doing it. Stop.
What do you mean? I'm asking you right now.
You've been trying to downplay Bam's defense.
I'm not downplaying his defense. You said Draymond. He's better than Draymond Green.
Okay, because you said some slick shit. I don't like it.
Bam is the closest thing we've had to Draymond. I think that's where I'm. In terms of last 15 years.
That's not insane.
Last 15
I don't think that's
years,
crazy.
Yeah. I think he's the closest thing to Draymond.
You know what I mean?
He hates that.
He's closer to Rob Will than Draymond.
Yo, bro, that stop. Like, stop.
Rob Will?
I
Oh
swear
my
to God.
Rob
He's
Will,
closer to
no.
Rob Will than Draymond Green.
Stop. Nick's for Joel, stop. Rob Will's disrespectful.
Draymond Green, the closest thing to Draymond Green. He's 6'5", 6'6".
Listen, just because you're close to that player doesn't mean you are that player.
So you're saying
you saw the video.
I know.
So you're saying Bam's the bigger version.
And he's not as good as Draymond.
That helps.
No,
Bam's
it doesn't.
case. Saying that Draymond's 4 inches shorter.
Like I know y'all seen the video Jason Tim put out. Like Jason Tatum is the closest player to LeBron James that we've ever seen. I think it's a similar situation.
No, he's capping.
You was waiting for that.
You want to use that?
Wait, hold up. Am I crazy? You
Rob
think
Will quote was crazy.
No.
Rob
I'm saying
Will's
you think Draymond and Bam Adebayo is the closest thing we've seen since Draymond Green?
I guess.
I don't even know if they play similarly.
I guess he's saying because of the versatility.
In terms of their archetype.
If you had to put a comp to Draymond Green,
it wouldn't be Bam.
Who would it be?
Performance. I would say it's the closest.
It wouldn't be Bam.
Even if it's 70% of Draymond, 60%, it's still the closest.
60%.
It's like undersized, big, versatility.
60% Draymond.
Their playmaking on offense is so much different.
He's talking about
so much different.
One played with Steph and Clay for the entire duration of his prime.
That doesn't take away from his playmaking ability.
Who's the closest player we've seen to Draymond?
I really think Draymond is like a one-on-one. He's 6'5" and can anchor a defense like a center. I've never seen that.
That's fair. I agree with that.
If you had to pick someone that's close in today's game,
Ben Wallace, good job.
I think Bam is
when I think about
big men that can handle the ball.
But the only thing similar about them is that they're undersized big men. That's pretty much it. But in terms of how they actually play the game,
how are they similar? They're elite defensive anchors that can play the 5 and the 4 at the same time.
But Bam is not the same defensively as Draymond Green. He's not. He's just not.
There's a lot of similarities.
Talk to him, John. He tried to say he's closer to Rob.
They're not great shooters.
I didn't like that comment.
Rob Will was nuts. I'll be honest.
They're not great shooters. Bam doesn't attempt threes, bro. Draymond actually attempts shots.
The point is neither are like high-end shooters. That's like,
and their playmaking is so much different. Draymond Green.
All I said that they're both elite level playmakers.
I love Rob Will more than anybody too. That was crazy.
Talk to me.
Bam Adebayo's playmaking is coming from what? It's coming from mostly the post or dribble handoffs. That's how he's getting his playmaking off most of the time.
It's a good amount of handoffs.
He's a
great screener.
Point forward.
Yeah, he was
for the entire 2020 season.
They both do the same thing.
He's not. He was. Draymond, he's not taking the ball up like Draymond and running in transition like Draymond dictating actions.
Not as often.
He's not doing
that in the past.
But Draymond did it almost all the time.
We saw that more in the past 2020 seasons where it really was.
When he was younger, yeah.
There were times he would take the ball up though instead of offense.
But there's a lot of similarities between the two teams. And all I said that neither are great shooters. That's an objective.
Joel's just not feeling that, bro. He's not.
I'm not. I just
He's not feeling that.
One takes
First
no
you try to
attempts.
compare him to Sabonis, and now Draymond Green. Stop.
I'm not comparing Sabonis. He's better than Sabonis. One takes no attempts from 3.
You literally say Sabonis is better.
One takes no attempts from 3. Sabonis is better this year. It's obvious. I thought he was snubbed from All-Star special.
Oh, now he was snubbed.
But I can think two things are true. I'm not gonna.
How the cookie crumbles.
Bam doesn't take the 3s, but he still was a pretty damn good mid-range shooter in his peak seasons. So.
Yeah, and Draymond doesn't have that, so that's why I don't think they're similar. I think the way Draymond plays is different.
Neither are great 3-point shooters.
I know. I just think the way Draymond and Bam play are differently, but neither here or there. Let's get it. Okay, undersized. Yes, I understand you, John. So mid-season playoff bracket. We did this playoff bracket in pre-recorded content we had before the show. We're gonna post that on Patreon if you guys want to see it. But we're also gonna do a version on the show as well because that version is more so of a shortened version of what we're about to talk about now. We're probably going to get into more explanations. John, I think, has to leave soon because of his...
Long story.
Yeah, long story. But yes, we will finish off the show strong. We thank John for his contributions. If he wants to stay longer, he is more than welcome to, but now's the moment of truth.
What? No moment of truth.
I'll save this next topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to it.
Nigga right
I love that.
I want to be.
I love that.
Say that.
You want to be what? You want to be one?
I want to be here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Please, I want to be here. Oh. I wouldn't be mad at you.
Word.
I get it.
I said a word.
I appreciate that. So we're getting into the midseason playoff bracket, and the only difference between what we're doing now and the pre-recorded content that we did is we're gonna get into the play-in scenario. So in the Eastern Conference, we have the Magic versus the Hawks for the 7th seed.
Here we go. Who's healthy? Who's not? This is let's have fun.
Let's just assume everyone's healthy.
So even Jalen Johnson.
Oh, I think Jalen Johnson's out
Well,
for
no,
the year.
he's out for the year, so that doesn't count.
That's why I asked him. I want to be very specific when I make this. I want to be very
Injuries
specific
off.
when I have this because I feel like this conversation could be very, very fun. Now that we have made it abundantly clear that we're getting Franz and Boncaro, who have a losing record playing together, and that Jalen Johnson is not coming back. We have Orlando sitting nice and pretty with a home game, right?
They're 7th seed. That'd be
Home game against the Atlanta Hawks, who have shown that they can play high-level basketball against good teams, but this is not a good team, as we can see right now. So they might not play high-level basketball. I'm looking at the matchup. I think Orlando wins this game, man. I think defensively they punch it on Trae Young. They make it really uncomfortable for him, and the responsibility just come a little bit too much. And I think they don't need to score a ton in this game. I think defensively they'll be able to hone in on that end. And if they're healthy, I can see them really grinding this out and making this a nasty, ugly Orlando win. So I'm taking Orlando in this one.
I will also go with Orlando. I love the matchups that the Magic can present with Jalen Suggs and then Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and you have a lot of size in this group. That really is the perfect scenario to defend Trae Young as best as you can. Now, this is obviously a playing game. A lot of things can happen. I could expect KCP to play quite well in this game. Has not been able to hit shots this year. It's been a bad signing. But in this kind of winner-go-home spot, not for the Magic, obviously, but one-game elimination scenario, I could see them having just a big shooting night from one of those few veterans. So I'll go with Orlando.
Yeah, that's why I think one-game scenario, I think the Hawks and Trae Young can win this game. I am excited to see, can the Magic get 20 to 25 consecutive games of their two stars together to build some, momentum and just some continuity there. But what I've seen so far this year is, as Riv mentioned, the big games, the Hawks step up against the Cavs, against the Celtics, against the Knicks. They have stepped up in all those big moments. In a one-game situation, I think Trae Young could go out there and have 40, even though as great as the Magic's defense is, he's a big game player in a one-game situation. You need some scoring. I trust Atlanta, what they got going on. Okay. I do think once we get to it, I do think the Magic still make the playoffs, but my vote would be for the Atlanta Hawks.
And sometimes Trae Young will guard himself by taking 50-foot threes and missing and chucking at the rim. So,
He hits them too.
Not that much. You look at the efficiency.
Who
Trae Young.
He's better than Halliburton.
He'll chuck those threes.
Who's your vote?
I'm going with the Magic in this scenario.
Magic gets voted.
Yes. The Heat versus the Bulls.
The Heat punch it.
Miami.
On Chicago.
I don't think we got to talk about this.
And if they lose, oh God.
So if the Heat win, then we have the Heat versus the Hawks.
I would take the Heat in this one also.
I would take the Heat too.
I think they're a better team.
Okay.
I'm going to favor Miami. I really enjoy watching Khalil and Bam playing together. And on top of that, I could expect playoff Wiggins with Tyler Hero kind of manning the show.
Yeah. He's scared.
I saw Tatum put it on Wiggins.
Really big fan of watching that group play, and I would take Miami. Also, Eric Spoelstra too.
And you're right. Bam Adebayo has benefited from Khalil. Where you know who doesn't need a 5 to benefit from nobody? Who? I'm just saying.
Draymond. I think it's about Draymond.
I'm just saying.
He's right.
I'm just saying.
That's funny you said.
I'm just saying. Cavaliers versus the Heat first round. Upset alert?
This would be a good series. It'd be a fun series, but I don't think it's a real upset alert. I would have Cleveland win that in 5 games.
Yeah. I don't want to disrespect Spo. I don't want to disrespect Spo because I feel like Spo is the best coach in basketball. I think that's somebody who can get the best out of his guys. He's somebody that can scheme up against any team with the proper personnel. Proper personnel is the key phrase here, because I do not think they have the personnel to fuck with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think defensively, Mobley might have some trouble. Jarrett might have some trouble with Bam and Khalil Ware. That's something they found in the front court. But in terms of that guard play that the Cleveland Cavaliers have, if DG does come to play come playoff time, that could be really scary for this team and the Cavs. I can see them winning in 5 games.
Yeah, the Heat just don't have any perimeter defense.
Hayward Highsmith, man.
That's their main option. But you have multiple elite creators. Garland playing extremely well this year.
That's why you got Bam. He's basically a perimeter defender.
He has to
deal with Mobley.
I know you joke around, but it's Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Davion Mitchell's really the best one at the guard spot.
It's a tall task.
They don't have enough guys.
He definitely can guard.
That's the only one. He's other side, bench, and he has some questions with his offensive impact. So
Terry Rozier is not even that good on offense. He's been
horrible.
Want him on
he's been
defense.
awful. He's been terrible.
And this Miami team, I think it's funny because they traded Jimmy Butler, and now I feel like this core that they have is really good. Like Wiggins, Hero, Bam, Khalil Ware. It's like if you could get a top 10 player, which obviously don't grow on trees, but if you get a top 10 player without giving up some of these pieces, this is a real team that could compete with Spo. Obviously, though, they don't have that this year.
So next series, we have the Celtics versus the Magic.
Probably be nasty, probably be a little ugly, but Boston wins this in 5.
I think the Celtics would sweep them.
They don't get one.
I'll tell you what.
Miami got one on us last year just by hitting 24 threes.
Right,
so.
but this Magic
Orlando is
team,
not capable of hitting.
This Magic team is so poorly constructed that there's not a single. Last time I checked a week ago before the All-Star break, there's not a single active player in their team shooting 35% from three.
They have a bottom 2 offense in basketball.
Think about that. Their best shooter, Mo Wagner, tore his ACL 2 months ago.
Where do you fall in the Franz and Paolo discussion?
I think Jeff Weltman and John Hammond deserve to go to prison for the way they built this team.
Okay.
I know Drew talked about it. This team makes no calls. They make no moves.
Prison.
Yes.
They deserve to go to jail.
Well,
where rapists and murderers are.
Basketball jail.
You built a bad basketball team.
This is where they need to go. I just want to get
They go where Nico Harrison goes.
Correct.
No, he needs to
They need to go to basketball jail.
No.
They don't go where he goes. He goes to jail.
They need to go to basketball jail. They're watching
county jail.
80s basketball.
Okay, I was using
Like Ricardo Malone is?
I can't use figurative language in this scene, apparently. Here's the thing. They do not deserve to be, with the way they've constructed this team moving forward, this front office, because there is zero floor spacing coming. I know they've tried with Jet Howard and the KCP signing, but the fact that this team has the worst spacing in the league, despite having the best player from the 2022 draft and then one of the 3 best players, one of the 4 best players in the 2021 draft, I think their duo can easily work if you put the pieces around them.
Who's better, Paolo or Franz?
Paolo. But Paolo's also a year and a half younger. I look at what he was last year in the playoffs in that situation we were playing against a premier defense and how well Paolo raised level of play. He's also a lot younger, a lot more raw. Franz a lot more polished. People will compare the two and vie them against each other, but Franz is the more complete player right now.
I'm not going to defend the Magic's front office ownership, but to be fair, Jalen Suggs coming off shooting 40%. Yeah, KCP, you thought was going to be maybe not last year, but like 36, 37 at minimum. He's been a 31% three-point shooter this year, so
his pass is not coming from Jokic.
Yeah, right. It's not the perfect pocket.
I think they've just continued to wait and not make any sort of calls or have
Anthony Simon should be on the team.
I strongly think so. So I think it's more so their lack of ambition.
Apparently, there was this report that the GM for the Magic, he doesn't ever pick up the phone.
I think Drew was talking about that, right?
Yeah, he only.
I was, but it's okay, John. Don't worry.
Yeah,
that's on me.
I think it was Dehls.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
He usually just like he'll answer, but he won't pick up, make calls. No, he just kind of rides.
Drew said it was a fireable offense.
Yeah.
There you go.
Knicks versus the Pistons.
Are you worried?
No, this is a 5-game series, bro.
Okay, it's easy.
Come on, let's be honest here.
You know, Cade could be the best player.
Detroit
in the
has
series.
the best player in the series.
No, the Knicks have it. It's Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is the best player.
Let's respect Brunson.
I think Cade. I think Cade
right now.
I think Cade can probably become, the better player of the two in like maybe a couple years. But no, Jalen Brunson right now, post January, has been one of the very best players in basketball.
Cade Cunningham post all season has been one of the best players in basketball.
Definitely been top 15.
But Jalen Brunson's better than Cade though.
Sure,
he's better than him.
I think that
he's better at the rim. He's better at shooting. He's better at mid range. He's better in the post.
He's their Cade guy.
Taking care of the ball.
Yeah, Brunson's one of the best. Post, he's honestly mini Luka. He's mini Luka. That's what he is.
Okay.
No, he's a great player. He's probably a better defender than Luka.
It's just like why
he tries.
Why do we have to go that far?
Takes a lot of charges.
He does take a lot of charges. At least he's got some positives defensively.
He does. I think he has more positives than Cat defensively.
Let me go find
it's easier
some
to hide him than Cat.
advanced numbers to favor Cade over Brunson. I'll be back.
I got the Knicks in this series though. Detroit, it's gonna be awesome to see Cade in the playoffs for the first time, but I mean this team just doesn't stack up.
Let's see what he does against OG Anunoby.
I feel like this could be.
Well, I mean, all you're gonna have to do is plug 2 guys on him. We ain't got nobody else.
A really fun series.
Unfortunate.
If Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. hit their shots.
Oh God.
Tim Hardaway Jr. revenge series against the Knicks potentially.
I don't hate it, but Malik Beasley has been so excellent this year, so damn good for them. I think this could be a fun series, like a competitive 5 to 6 games, and I easily think Cade could win them too. And also, Asar Thompson being healthy
easily
opens
win
up a
them
lot.
too.
Asar's been good.
Cade's been so
Are we just expecting Cade to outplay Brunson in the
been really good.
series?
No, I'm not.
Have you locked in?
They haven't played since we talked about it.
Detroit kind of plays a similar brand, And I really do believe Cade can have a couple of insanely good games.
Who's guarding Cat?
You're guarding Cat. There's no way.
And the front court,
like playmaking or something.
Assuming assuming that Mitch isn't out there.
Cat's giving him 40, bro.
Let's match up on Mitch, but
Durbin what?
Matching up on Cat.
That brother stinks, man.
I didn't say anything.
I'll go, man. This should be a sweep. I respect Cade and the Pistons.
I think they get
one game. I'll go with 5. But
Cade's getting 1 or 2.
Listen, man.
2 is.
Listen.
Let's stretch.
Listen.
Top 10 defense.
All I ask for is grace. This is all I ask for is grace for Cade walking into that series.
Oh, he's already making excuses for a bad series.
Because he's going to have to see OG. We're not worried about the Mikal matchup. I promise to God we're not worried about the Mikal matchup. It's the OG matchup. It's to possibly seeing 2. Just want to have a little grace. His team, like John just mentioned, he has to rely on Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley to hit shots going up against the top 5 offense.
Well, Malik Beasley's been great for
45.
I agree, but that's still not somebody.
Listen, they're going to try to get Brunson on Cade, and they're going to try to Cade work on Cat. Yeah, well, they're going to try to get both of them into action.
Well, Cat could do his thing.
They're just going to do what thing?
Do what?
They need Cat at the 4 defensively.
You saw what Cade did in the Garden? Stop disrespecting him. Stop disrespecting him.
You just basically made an excuse for him having a bad series.
No, I'm saying have grace. His first time in.
Point. They don't have a second grader. It's Tobias Harris.
Yeah, have grace. Tobias. Like, dude, he might get benched.
And it wasn't Tobias Harris 4 years ago in 2021.
Asar Thompson might put Brunson in a box.
Yeah, he's not doing nothing. Yeah. Amen Thompson couldn't even guard him.
Asar's a better defender.
Yeah, but still, Jalen Brunson would fry him.
Fry?
Yeah, Jalen Brunson would fry almost anybody.
Man,
Asar's a better defender. We're here. You gotta fight. Hey, you may get one twin. You won't get the other.
No, he'll get both.
Knicks should sweep.
Twins come in pairs.
Yeah. Knicks should sweep. They're the better team. They should sweep. I give him 5.
Twins come in pairs.
Yeah, he's nuts. I don't know. Cade will win one in Detroit. That's where he's gonna get one. He'll get one in Detroit, and then the series will be over.
Pacers versus the Bucks.
Is Hallie gonna play good?
Probably not.
The Bucks should win if they're healthy.
Last year he played fine. 18.
He's still dealing with something.
18 and 8 is adorable.
But it's better efficiency. So
I don't feel like we put it. I don't feel like we give enough grace to NBA athletes who have to travel all the time because at home Halliburton plays amazing. You just told me
don't give no excuses for Cade.
I didn't say don't give them. I said you're making excuses for Cade.
He's carrying a much bigger load.
Did I ever say don't give excuses to Cade? I ever said don't give excuses.
The way you
I just said that's what you're doing.
You're already giving him excuses if he doesn't play.
You're already giving him excuses he can't sleep on his bed properly.
No, he can't. It's a big deal. I mean, you need your mattress.
He needs to,
it's not the most comfortable sleeping in a hotel. Sleeping somewhere
got enough
random.
money to fucking fry him back and forth each night if it really matters.
That brother stinks. But he can play well against the Bucks.
Stinks now. Come on, let's be honest.
He can play well against the Bucks.
This is Steve Nash MVP numbers, and he stinks.
18-8 is fine for like a non-all-star type dude.
Numbers? Let me pull up Steve Nash's per 36.
I got Milwaukee in this series, though, man. I think they bounce back, assuming Giannis is healthy. Because if we're assuming, everyone's healthy in these matchups, because Giannis these last few years have not been able to stay healthy, and even in some of the games he has been healthy, they haven't been able to win. Looking at that Heat series from a couple of years ago, but yeah, I mean Milwaukee. I don't think they're like a real contender in the East. I don't know if they can make an ECF run, but they should be able to get past the Pacers in the first round.
Per 100 possessions, those numbers is ridiculous.
I'm also going with the Bucks in the series. They have the second best player in the world for one, and we saw last year Chris Middleton go crazy versus Indiana, but Damian Lillard also stepped up, and I expect that duo to just rise their level of play in the postseason.
And they have Kyle Kuzma.
And I hated the move at first because I'm a Chris Middleton fan, but I kind of had warmed up. How can I not be? I mean,
I don't know.
Kyle Kuzma, the idea of him as kind of a complimentary player, where he's a rugged rebounder, a solid defender, a decent cutter, and maybe a better shooter playing off of Giannis. Mm-hmm. I've kind of warmed up to the idea of him contributing on a positive level and just being more impactful than he was in Washington. So I didn't like the move because I just love Middleton, but I kind of like the idea of Kuzma in the playoffs. So I'm going with the Bucks here in 6 games.
So the second round matches, we have the Cavaliers.
Oh, I have the Bucks, by the way.
And the Bucks. Mm-hmm. And then we have the Knicks and Celtics. Before we get into that, we're going to go to the West. Timberwolves versus the Mavericks for the 7th seed.
Damn, that's actually tough as fuck. And we're assuming Dallas is healthy. I got Dallas. Yeah, I think Dallas wins on the road. Defensively, I think they cause a lot of trouble for a guy like Ant-Man. Specifically, because I feel like he's going to start to get... They're going to have guys like Najee Marshall, PJ Washington at the perimeter, which I don't think will be able to stop Ant. But Ant's thing is, if he does get past him, you have to see AD or Lively at the rim, who are going to be real legit trouble. Now, Naz Reid can cause some real trouble in taking one of those bigs out. He's been a scorcher ever since January, which is something huge. But I think defensively, the way Dallas is going to be able to guard Minnesota, which Minnesota has a lot of guys who are either ball stoppers or not the most trustworthy on the offensive side of the ball. And then offensively, Kyrie has seen this team already. I think now you could put Jaden on Kyrie because you don't have to put Jaden on Luka. But I think AD can have real fun in this series. Rudy Gobert has never really been able to hold him. And then either Randall or Naz Reid can't guard AD. And I think they have a good enough amount of shooters to where if they're healthy, they can make some noise. So I got Dallas in this one. I think they'll win this game.
This is a great matchup. I am not going to take Anthony Edwards, though, in the single elimination game and bet against him. And to me, I have a lot more optimism in the Timberwolves kind of figuring out their lineup if and when Randall does come back, because I expect them and I hope they move Randall to the bench. And with that, kind of open up the game for everyone else, I expect their offense to be a lot better, and I really do look at them as more of a second half team. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here.
This is tough. I also think I'm taking Dallas. When River and I were talking in the car, Dallas to me is a outside of the top like 3 teams in each conference, right? If I had like a sleeper team, Dallas is that team to me, just because when they are healthy and you have all of those bigs with Gafford, AD, and Lively, and I understand I think the big hesitation is, number one, just the playmaking on that team, right? Like outside of Kyrie Irving, who's really like that next creator who is creating for others, creating for themselves. I think that's definitely a fair, concern to have. But defensively, man, this could be the best defense in basketball. When you have those bigs, when you have guys on the perimeter like Najee and PJ, who I agree with you, Riv. I don't think they're going to be the best at stopping Anthony Edwards, but I think when you have those guys on the back end guarding the rim, you're just going over on screens. You're doing your best to make sure that Ant can't shoot 40% on 10 threes in that game. And if he goes downhill and he's finishing above those guys, on those guys, that he really hasn't been doing as highly efficiently as he has been in years past, you just live with that. So one game situation, even though I do like Ant in that, must have it type of game, I really like what Dallas can be if they're healthy.
If they're healthy, I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. I think it's a tough matchup for Minnesota, who really don't have much shooting, even with their new lineup. But I do like what Jalen Clark has been giving them. You saw how he played defense on SGA.
Right.
He really
SGA hell.
He really clamped them, So
Facts.
Jalen Clark, he's been a great addition to the lineup, and he's one of the great development stories on the team.
You guys don't think this is a lost year for the Mavericks, where Gafford's out up until
Depends on how the playoffs shake up, bro.
Davis out next month. Lively's out a little bit more.
It could be a lost year.
If they win this game right here and they fly over to the WCF, you'll say, nah, it's not a lost year.
I'm saying, are they even going to get to this point with how many injuries they have? Because of the injuries.
I mean, it makes sense, but we just saw Kyrie Irving drop 40 on Golden State before the All-Star break. So
how consistently can you count on that with how many injuries they have?
Kyrie Irving's averaging 25 a night. I think Kyrie Irving, he is going to put his best foot forward. I don't see the Mavericks tanking. If they lose, they're probably going to lose because they're unhealthy. But as of recently, they've been playing good basketball.
That's where they don't even have healthy Dwight Powell.
That's a fact.
They don't have any bigs right now.
So
they've been playing all right, though. They've been playing hard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, John, you're right. There's a chance this team falls to 10 seed. This team has a chance falls to 11 seed. But
Kings versus the Warriors.
I got Golden State. The addition of Jimmy Butler.
Round 2, baby.
Yeah.
Round 3,
what do you guys, 3-1 with Jimmy Butler now?
Yeah.
We played them
in the playoffs the year before, and then last year in the play-in we lost. So round 3, yes.
But I really like what the Warriors can be with Jimmy Butler here and Steph Curry, of course, Draymond. And I don't know, man. The Kings losing De'Aaron Fox, that's brutal. I know Zach LaVine, of course, he's another creator. You have guys, Sabonis, DeMar. We know they're a talented team, but I like what I've seen so far with Jimmy Butler and Golden State.
I'm also going to go with the Warriors here, because I'm optimistic, and we've seen this in these initial stretches with Jimmy being in the mix. There's a lot for all 3 of these stars to play for, and I think it rounds out their lineup a lot more than I expected, because it relieves so much pressure off of Steph. And I think especially in these gotta-have-it situations, you're always going to get the best version of Jimmy, so I'm going to go with the Warriors.
Yeah, I think defensively, too, Jimmy's going to be back to that, high-level defender.
He's been playing really good defense on the help side. I love what I'm seeing. The Moses Moody has been playing some good hoops, man. We got Quentin Post.
It's all coming together.
Apparently a bucket according to John.
Can we drop that, bro?
No, we can't.
Bucket in the pick-and-roll lob, nobody around him.
Pick-and-roll pop.
Yeah, we played some good basketball, though. We had some good players playing good ball. I'll take us against the Kings.
I'm going with the Warriors, too, so that means for the 8th seed, you have the Timberwolves versus the Warriors.
We beat them 3 times this year.
I'm going with the Wolves, man. Let's be honest.
We beat them 3 times this year, all clutch games. And that was with our team. Kind of both of the teams, I feel like they were in different parts in the season. This one, I think, is a bit of a tougher challenge, but give me Steph Curry on the road. Give me Steph Curry and give me Jimmy Butler. I'll take the Warriors against Minnesota.
I think I'm taking the Warriors too.
I don't want this to be a clean sweep. I really think we're underestimating the T-Wolves.
Why? Because we're.
I'll pick the Wolves. So if you pick the Warriors, it won't be a clean sweep.
I know.
So you can maybe pick the Warriors and not feel bad about it.
Okay.
So you're going with the Warriors.
I'm picking Golden State.
Okay. Let's go. So in the first round, we have OKC versus the Warriors.
All right. OKC in 6.
Yeah, I think OKC wins in 5 or 6.
I will also take the Thunder.
5 or 6.
I think this could be a great series with Jimmy because Jimmy's the difference maker, which won't always be indicated on the stat sheet. And I believe that this could be a series that maybe goes to. You're asking whether or not
this could be upset alert. Maybe.
We don't have a POA. That's what kills me.
Jimmy.
He'll be more in the help side, backline, especially in this matchup with Hartenstein and Chet.
You got to count on Kuminga quite a lot.
Yes, that's a fact. We'll need Jimmy to help down low because we're gonna play small ball unless they want Kuminga to help down there.
Give me OKC in
I'm excited for it though. I think OKC is a good matchup for us in the sense of they don't have a dominant big man.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that would kill us.
From a storyline perspective, I want to see this series. Draymond has kind of chattered about OKC not being ready for the moment, so I think this would be a tremendous series if they played.
Shea pushing 30.
I'd go with OKC though. Grizzlies versus the Mavericks.
Ooh,
Grizzlies.
I'm going with the Mavericks.
Yeah, if Mavericks are healthy, this is tough for my Grizz, man. You just got 2 big men in AD and Lively that can cause some real trouble.
And they lose this series, Ja gets traded in the offseason.
It's almost like a silly comment that you said out loud that you think makes sense. Jaren, I think, might struggle. I think Ja at the rim is going to be some trouble. You got AD down there, and every time he plays AD, it's always a trouble because they don't have a legit perimeter guy that can guard Ja. That's the difference. But Memphis plays such a different style of basketball now. I'll take Memphis in this one. I think Memphis wins in 7. I think it's a tough-ass series. I'll go Memphis.
I'm also going to go with the Grizzlies here because I just bank on that defense translating, especially in that early, like that first round series. I expect John Morant to kind of raise that level of play from the regular season to what we've seen in the past. Because anytime he has went up against Anthony Davis, we've seen him be an elite playoff performer. On top of that, I just love the combination of Jaren playing as well as he has defensively and the amount of depth they have. So
injury sliders off. You're still going with the Grizzlies.
We're gonna have to flip a coin because I got Dallas in this. I think this is if for any matchup Dallas could get, I feel like Memphis is that one series you're looking at. Like,
this is who I
will say if
we would want to play.
If AD is healthy, that's where I can really see him.
Houston or Grizzlies, I feel like you said about basically every team wants to face those 2 teams, you know?
For sure.
Right now, I'm not banking on AD being 100% if he's out there.
In this world, we're assuming everyone's healthy.
I don't know. I think it's a bad matchup, but I think offensively, the way Memphis has been playing this year and being much better in the half court, I don't think it's as bad as people makes it think.
My biggest worry about Dallas is if you went up against, for example, the Thunder, if you went up against the Lakers and you have to go up against an elite shot maker on the other end where you're going down the fourth quarter and you have to go bucket for bucket. Kyrie is great, AD is great, but I feel like SGA, Luka, LeBron, they're on a different level.
For sure.
Memphis just like shout to Josh, shout to Jaren. They're KD, AD. I trust them.
For sure. It's just
and they're playing a different brand of basketball this year. Like they're not pick and roll heavy. They've really moved away from John Moran, and a lot of their basketball is coming from just off ball movement, finding like open spaces in the defense and cutting towards those spaces. And I don't know how well that's going to translate into the playoffs when you don't have most of your actions running through one person just dictating terms.
That's the thing. That's why it's a tricky thing because in the playoffs, you're going to have to rely on 12. Like you're going to have to go back to that pick and roll, going back to the slow down game. So to not do it all year and then to translate to do it in the playoffs, it's going to be a little difficult. But offensively for Dallas, I don't think they're the most reliable either. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're the most trustworthy either. Like
they're not perfect.
Right? Yeah, defensively, I think it's going to be a defensive battle. Yeah. I think defensively, it's going to be a dogfight.
So this next series, go John.
Well, who do you have winning? We're 2-2.
Well, I think if you have the Nuggets beating the Clippers in the next series,
it doesn't matter.
I guess it doesn't, unless you think Dallas or Memphis will beat Denver, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, what was your question?
Do you think Ja gets his get back in the event that AD and Gafford and Lively are healthy?
I think he has to. I think there's a lot of pressure on him right now to kind of be the face and kind of come up playoff time. I think we love Jaren. I think Jaren's a great player. I think he's been a great two-way player this year. I think you still need 12 to be the best player, and I think come playoff time, you need them both to be on high end. It's not even about like being the best player or anything. You need both of them to be at that high end energy. And I think with Ja Morant, a lot of the stuff in the playoffs is going to run through him because he is the best passer on the team. He's going to have the ball a ton. And I think with Desmond Bane not taking as many threes and with the lineup getting cut to like 8 to 9 guys, there's going to be a lot of guys who aren't going to be as dangerous with the ball in their hands. So you're going to need Ja to kind of step his game up. And he's shown that in the playoffs. So to not do it would be like, disappointment.
The
but
Nuggets
we all have Denver
versus Clippers. We all got Denver, even though Clippers playing some good basketball.
There.
Rockets versus the Lakers. Is this a clean
Lakers.
sweep for the Lakers?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the Lakers win in 6 or 7.
That's a tough draw for Houston.
There's nothing wrong with Houston losing, though.
So our second round matchups in the West are OKC versus the Lakers and either the Grizzlies or the Mavericks versus the Nuggets. So let's start off.
We all got Denver beat.
Yes.
We can just move on.
Let's
just
start
so
off
don't
with
make
the
it weird.
East. We have the Cavs versus the Bucks. We all have the Cavaliers.
I'm pretty comfortable with it.
I'll go with the Cavs in 6.
Big Kuz guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lost me with that.
I think he.
Hey, he's a good complimentary
in the
player.
Lakers
He could be.
system,
He might. He could
He's
be.
awful.
In Los Angeles,
He
was
could
the
be.
third
Kuz was
best-
awful.
He was the third best.
You
he
haven't
was-
seen his Bucks
bro,
games, man.
He was.
He hasn't been good with the
He played like
Bucks.
the third most minutes on a team.
I feel like
that
he's
won
had like
championship.
1 or 2 good games, 1 or 2 bad games. Yeah, I got Cleveland in this series too.
I don't know. That was crazy.
I think that's
'Cause
tough.
he
Do you
was-
think it's a coin flip with
John,
the
that's
Bucks
almost
and
a decade
Cavs, or
ago.
you got the Cavs comfortably?
2020 was 5 years ago, buddy. That's half a decade ago.
All right, sorry, I was exaggerating. Point of, he's been ass for 3 years.
In Washington. So
I mean, you don't just magically get better
you
as you
can't
get
just
older.
forget the fact he played the third most minutes.
was
on a team that
younger.
Won a championship. So
He was younger.
he's the same player. So
He's not the
Anyways,
same
I'll
player.
go with the Cavaliers.
You're a liar.
He went to Washington.
He's
where-
not the same
He went to
player.
Washington, was playing for jack shit. So that's the difference.
All right. Yeah,
I'll go
yeah,
with the Cavs in
sure.
6 games.
Okay, I can't wait to
We're all
circle
going
this
with the
back.
Cavs. Knicks versus the Celtics.
It's a tough
going
draw
with
for
the
your boys,
Celtics.
man.
I'll be
I
honest,
don't
the
think the Knicks
Celtics
can
win in
hang.
5 games.
The Knicks can't hang.
They might beat
Yeah.
the shit out of y'all.
Yeah.
Yo, not even oh
It's
my
5 or
God.
6, and I don't see it
Yo,
being too
you
bad.
guys built up this team to get your ass waxed on.
They-
You guys are praying you get the Cavs in the second round.
Yeah. You guys can do whatever you can to get.
I wasn't gonna get disrespectful, but I got Boston in 5.
Yeah, we're the Bulls.
I'm not a Bulls fan.
Bulls.
The crazy thing is that they spent $300 million and 6 first-round picks plus
Talk.
RJ and made him quickly to build a team to
I don't even
defend
know why you
Boston.
added them, but
and
yeah.
they don't look close.
Well, listen, the RJ and IQ move looks pretty damn good. The 6 first, not as
Lost.
great.
Well, it's more they add to it. Well, part of the reason why I think they traded for Mikal is because of OG's injury issues. Because he's not
Yeah.
someone that's going to play.
I mean,
7
I'm not
games.
shocked. I didn't think the Knicks were going to beat the Celtics after the trades. That's why I didn't like the trades.
They wasn't gonna beat them before the trade.
Well, we needed difference. I mean, we needed to wait for someone like Giannis to become available and then trade those picks for Giannis, and then we would have beat the shit out the Celtics. But, you know,
Do it in 2K. I know how it works.
because that didn't happen. It's unfortunate. Okay, OKC versus the Lakers.
Here we go.
I'm going with OKC. I honestly don't think the series is really that close. I'll be honest.
Just want to point out, in every single game Kuzma has played, he's had a negative plus minus with the Bucks.
4-game sample.
Yeah, just want to point that out.
It is a 4-game sample.
Oh, I'm sorry. 3 out of the 4 games he's played, he's had a negative plus minus. The one game he did play good in, when he had a
Minnesota?
I don't know why we're
Minnesota.
pretending going from playing in Washington and Giannis and Dame's not going to benefit him.
I'm just asking. I'm just
I
pointing out.
do think with the Lakers and OKC, the Lakers have offense to maybe keep up with them a little bit, but you have Lou Dort and Caruso and more defenders in the lineup like SJ and J Dub, and then you have a backline that's elite. And really, who's going to guard SJ that entire series? You know, I think the only way the Lakers keep the series close is if the OKC just has bad shooting luck.
And LeBron and Luka go nuclear.
I got the Thunder too, and my concern with the Lakers that obviously their front court is putrid. My concern is that they only have 6 quality players to play, depending on what Gabe Vincent is. So I feel
He's
like
been playing better.
he has been, but
They called me crazy when I said that.
I can expect that too. But they just don't have enough quality depth, I feel, to really hang with a team like OKC.
I'm not moved by Jared Vanderbilt on the court in the playoffs.
Because he can't play more than like 15 minutes.
He can't.
Yeah,
I'm not moved by Jackson Hayes. I don't care what the B-boy index stuff
I mean,
tells
he is
me.
a hell of a finisher. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm not moved by that in the playoff series. Gabe Vincent, we'll see. Dorian Finney-Smith, I trust. Don Connect, Rui,
I don't think he gets
yes.
playoff minutes.
That's really
Reeves,
those top
yes. LeBron, Luka, we're here.
After the top 4 gets dicey.
Yeah, and I think OKC, they don't have, there's nothing that scares them in the paint. Like, they don't have a dominant big. They don't have a rim protector. No,
Hartenstein's can-
this is
24
SGA.
points. Yeah.
You have free roam to do whatever you want against this defense. Get Luka in the switch. Get LeBron old ass in the switch. Get Rui Hachimura. Get Austin Reeves. pick apart everybody on that roster. They don't have no backline help. Just be so much better as a passer. Be better as a passer than you were last year against Dallas, and everything's clean. J-Dub, you also can do whatever you want against 90% of these defenders. So I got OKC in 6 games.
I got OKC too. I want to see what the Lakers look like in the second half of the season because I don't want to just completely throw them away. We have seen, Luka make WCF runs with pretty terrible teams where, with teams that didn't have LeBron James on it and Austin Reeves, who's playing at a super high level. But OKC's been too damn good and too damn dominant in this regular season. And they got both sides going for them, right? Because I do think they'll be able to get a bucket damn near every time down the court if SGA is just mismatch hunting. And on the other side, while LeBron and Luka are always going to cause advantages, are always going to have open shots for their teammates, this is one of the best defenses we've ever seen. So, although I do think the Lakers offensively could be like a top 3, top 5 unit in basketball, OKC is going to cause them some trouble.
Now we got the conference finals matchups. OKC versus Denver. Who you guys going with?
Denver. I thought this team was really good in the offseason. I thought it would be a lot on Christian Brown, Strawther, Peyton Watson, and Westbrook to really get this team going. And Westbrook and Christian Brown have been great for this team. Strawther's been up and down, and Peyton defensively, you know what he does, just offensively, hit or miss. But Aaron Gordon and Mike, they still have one of the best starting fives in basketball. And when Westbrook, if he continues to play this way until the playoffs, which I know is a question mark, and it should be because he has shown us he's not always the same player in the playoffs, but he's been playing a lot different this year as opposed to years prior. Yeah. And I think the Joker can still get the best out of him in the playoffs. I think Denver is geared up for another run. OKC, for me, it's about how Hartenstein and Chet are going to be so integral to what they want to do, because if they cannot hold down the fort against the Joker like Kat and Rudy were able to do in that Minnesota series, and then if they can't have an answer for Jamal, I think Denver can walk away and go to the finals. So I got Denver.
I got the Thunder win the series. And when it comes down to, for me, there's 3 things.
What?
It's a Nuggets fan, too.
I know. And as a Nugget fan, I'm kind of concerned with this.
You didn't pick the Nuggets like 20 minutes ago?
No, I took the Thunder.
You did?
Clip. Yes. Now,
that's on me, Joe.
As a Nugget fan, Christian Brown this year's been incredible. He's been as good as you could ask for. He's been better than KCP. He hasn't been close when you compare their situations. But the 3 things I look at, number 1, I believe this is the series where Isaiah Hartenstein established himself as a top 10 caliber center, someone who really does match up with these elite level bigs and defends well and respectively. And I feel like his post defense can really be put on full display here, where he can contain, and then you have Chet roaming, and then I think Chet is the other X factor. If he's hitting his threes, he's healthy, and he's roaming, it does give the Thunder that luxury on the defensive end where they can match up with Jokic better than any team. And then on the offensive end, this is the 3rd thing for me. I believe Shea is one of the toughest matchups for Jokic defensively, where in that mid-range game, he's going to give him a lot of trouble having to rise up and drop. And I think that opens up the game for their shooters to play a lot better than they did in that second-round series last year versus the Mavericks. I just believe this team's way more prepared, and they have a lot more answers for Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray than anybody else on both ends of the floor. And plus, on top of that, I think Mark Dagnall's an excellent coach. So I think it would be a great series. I expect Jokic to kill. But I believe the Thunder just have more firepower, and they're a more experienced team than a year ago to kind of get this series and surprise some people.
It's going to be a tough series. I think it goes 6-7 games, but I got the Nuggets winning it. Okay. Riv, I think what you're saying defensively makes a lot of sense, right? Where you look at what Gobert and Kat did last year, but the biggest difference is this year, Jokic hit a damn jump shot. I mean, last year, his jumper completely fell apart. This year, he's been one of the most effective jump shooters in the NBA. There's no mid-range, 3-point, restricted area. We know how efficient of a shooter he is, but specifically from 3, I mean, he was with some wide-open attempts last year that he is just completely knocking down at like a 40-45% clip this year. So for me, for Denver, really the biggest thing is what version of Jamal Murray are we going to get offensively? Because if you get a version of Jamal Murray that we've seen, I think right before this All-Star break, he went on a little heater, had a 50-point game. Of course, when they won the championship run, he was, one of the best Robins in the NBA at that point. Or we can get the Jamal Murray we saw last year where he wasn't 100%. He didn't have really any sort of explosiveness. That first step that he was so great the year prior getting to the rim was not there. He looked just a bit slower than he did in years past. But if you get something in between that, where maybe it's not as high as the 2022 version, or 23 version, I should say, but not as low as that 24 version, I don't think Chet and Hartenstein can stop Joker. And I think everything that he does off of that with Jamal Murray playing at a all-star-ish level, they'd be able to get past OKC.
I do think it depends on the version of Jamal Murray that they get. And OKC has 2 of the best defenders to defend him with Caruso and Lou Dort. So I do think that that's going to make it really tough on Jamal Murray. And we could see him struggle again in the playoffs in a matchup like this. I think OKC is just a deeper team top to bottom. And while Denver has the best player in the series, I think Jokic is the best player in the series. You don't have the role players that maybe will step up to that level in this series. Like Russell Westbrook, what version are we going to get of him? Christian Brown, same thing. Julian Strawther. I just feel like they're more new to the moment than OKC. Even though they have a young team, they've been to the playoffs already last year, and I think that experience is going to help them this time around to get over the hump. So I have OKC winning, and we're split on that again. And in the conference finals, we have the Cavaliers and the Celtics, and this should be a 3-1 gentleman's sweep, Dehls. Cavaliers are going.
You know where I'm standing at, Dehls. You know I've been here.
What gives you guys the confidence that
Evan Mobley locking up Jason Tatum and DeAndre Hunter, his addition, his 3-point shooting, D. Mitch, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, the depth, Kenny Atkinson, Coach of the Year. Yeah, going with the Cavs.
Hey, he said some good things. I just think when you're going up against the Cavs, when you're going up against Boston provides a shit ton of problems. Defensively, they give you guys that can switch on multiple ends with Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White. They give you a good amount of rim protection in Derek White, in Porzingis. They play long, they play lengthy, they play physical. But the difference in stopping them is you need guys to dominate the paint. You need guys that are physical, that can dominate the paint. I think the Cavs have a mixture of guys that can attack you in the perimeter and guys that can kill you down low. And I think Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are just regular big men. I think they're big men that can be play finishers, can be connectors. Evan Mobley has shown you he can hit a 3 or 2 every now and then. They've shown you this year that they can exploit mismatches. They can, pack the paint, dominate the paint, be great defenders. And then you got guys like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell who are giving you an edge defensively by just giving you effort, keeping you in plays. And then offensively, I know DG hasn't played his best basketball against the Boston Celtics this year. For the most part, I think he had one good game, one really bad game, and then one semi-okay game. But the confidence that he's giving you this year, how he's been efficient from everywhere on the floor, from the mid-range to the non-restricted area, to the rim, the floaters in the bag, the mid-range jumper, the three-point, the pull-up, the catch and shoot. I mean, he's just been such an efficient player. And then along with Evan Mobley taking strides in his offensive game, I think and then along with getting DeAndre Hunter, who I don't think is a great defender, I do think he's a good offensive player, a good enough scorer that can help alleviate that pressure. And on top of that, he's another big body. I think defensively they run multiple sets of either zones, or they run man, or they do a lot of trapping. You have the two Twin Towers down there. I think this Cavs team has the proper continuity, the proper coaching to make this series tough and even win this series. It's really just about, I think the X factors are DG and Mobley. If they can show up, if they can show out, I think the Cavs can legitimately win this series.
My optimism for Cleveland stems from two things. One, I believe that this year they have the completely different offense than last year, where we saw Donovan Mitchell show up and take a game basically from Boston, and that was in spite of them often playing their two bigs together. And I believe that this year what's opened up the game so much for their two guards, DG and Donovan's, the fact that they're not relying on those two bigs as much. And now Mobley's taking more threes too. He's taking 3 per game. He's making them at 37%. He's always been capable. But the big thing is Kenny Atkinson being able to stagger their minutes more, to where you have DeAndre Hunter, he can guard up on a force where Karis LeVert could not. And I feel like for Cleveland, they've basically opened up the best offense in basketball because of that, with how dynamic that backcourt is. And at the same time, for the Celtics, you do have a couple of questions, which is really just, can their supporting cast be as excellent as they were, specifically Derek White and Drew last year? Can they maintain that level of play? Because there's always that championship hangover. But to me, it kind of is more about the Cavaliers just being able to take their offense from 16th to 1st in the NBA. And I believe that gives them a chance to win the series. But to be quite honest, I think the real question is just how they're going to be able to contain Jason Tatum. Because we've seen Hunter on Tatum in the past, and it hasn't looked great. And I feel like it's going to come down to Evan Mobley guarding Tatum and doing the best he possibly can, because I don't think they have another answer for JT, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great series. I'm not taking Cleveland lightly. This isn't the Indiana Pacers, although they gave us the most competitive series out of all year last year. That includes the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah. But no, I mean, Cleveland's going to be the toughest matchup that Boston has played. And you could argue over the last 2 to 3 seasons of how deep of a team they are, how great and dominant they've been in the regular season. What I'm most interested to see is over this last month, and Jack Simone, who's a Celtics reporter, broke this down. Boston's been playing a lot of double big lineups, right? Since January 18th, they're averaging about 30 minutes with double big. So that's, Kornet, Porzingis, Horford, Nemi gets some minutes as well. And it's been really effective. This is a team that has been the number one team in terms of rim protection over that span. And prior to that, they were only playing about 19 minutes per game. Some of that was the injury to Porzingis. Some of his minutes were limited in that December stretch when he first got back. But I think Boston wins this series in 6 games. I think what they've shown this year is, although they did have that, 2-month phase where some people, myself included, have some deleted tweets about them, when they've played the top competition this year, they've stepped up and they've showed out. When they've played the Cleveland Cavaliers, or 2-1 against them, that one loss without Jaylen Brown. When they've played against the New York Knicks, they've dominated them both times. And when they played the Bucks, every single time they've had that big matchup, they've stepped up to it. I think this is the best basketball Jason Tatum has played in his career. And listen, you could say the injuries to the Cleveland Cavaliers last year. Of course, Donovan Mitchell had that big game. Of course, during the regular season.
Thank you for adding that, bro.
But listen, Porzingis is also probably playing the best basketball of his career. Yep. So if we're getting Porzingis, that, again, a big if, because he has not been able to stay healthy throughout his career. This is the longest stretch we've had, though. This is about 2.5 months, knock on wood, that Porzingis has been able to stay healthy. What he brings as a rim protector, what he brings as a three-point shooter, as a post-up threat, it's just a whole nother level that Cleveland didn't see last year, right? And of course, you're maybe not expecting Jaylen Brown to play as high as the level because he hasn't had as great as a regular season. Jrue Holiday has definitely taken a step down, especially as like a corner shooter than he did last season. But I think in the playoffs, some of those guys are going to step up. Like, I think especially defensively, where we've seen Boston kind of be lackadaisical at times this year, especially like a lot of the times just bad offense leading to bad defense. They take some bad threes. They don't move the ball as much as they should. And the effort kind of just snowballs on the defensive end. But I think once we get into the playoffs, that's going to completely flip, and we're going to see Jaylen Brown as that lockdown defender. We're going to see Derek White continue to do what he does. Whoever you want, Garland, Donovan.
You know he can't guard D. Mitch.
It don't matter.
You know he can't guard D. Mitch.
I don't think so either. The Celtics didn't have Porzingis last year, but Jared Allen also didn't play in that series either.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying it goes.
If you guys played I don't think you guys are going to play too much of the double big lineup against Cleveland.
DeAndre Hunter can guard Al Horford so well.
It's not even that. It's just your best lineups are probably going to be in the playoffs with Derek White, with Jaylen Brown, Jrue, Tatum on the floor.
They're going to take that shit away.
And on top, if you play the double big, you can play Evan Mobley on Tatum, and then you can put DeAndre Hunter on the big, and then you can have Jared Allen helping off the non-shooting big. And now you're living with Donovan Mitchell and Jaylen Brown. Like, Jaylen Brown could kill him. It's life, but you're living with that because now you have Jared Allen at the rim being able to help, and then you're just like a perfect game plan. And I think people are going to start to look at is when Memphis just let Jrue Holiday shoot 33s that game they played in Boston, where they just was like, all right, you have Boston. You can't give, like, they're a great team. You have to give up something. We're going to give up Jrue Holiday taking the most shots on the court. And that led to a victory. Also, of course, they have to play high-level basketball on the other end, too. But they let Jrue Holiday shoot a shit ton of threes. They're just like, yo, dude, like, if Jrue Holiday beats us, we live with that. So with Boston, it's tough because they're a dangerous team where their 4 best players at any moment could get hot, and now you're like, fuck. And even their 2 bigs, like, some of their bigs are solid, and they give you a good amount of minutes. And then you got Hauser, you got Pritchard coming off the bench. it could be the best series of the playoffs by far.
I agree.
Like it could be an amazing series, and right now you're sitting there like the Cavs are looking at Boston like this is it. Like this is the circle. This is it. We know every other team is good. The Knicks are good. Milwaukee, they have Giannis. They're good. Indiana, cool. But this is the team we got to beat. This is the team we got to get over the hump. Even last year, you saw Cleveland play their best ball against Boston. Their matchups were always tough. This is a team that they have to get over hump against. So,
listen, that's a Cleveland team that hasn't been in this moment either. They've made second round of the playoffs. I get that, but they haven't been in the ECF against the defending champs on the main stage like that. My biggest concern really is just Al Horford and pick and roll against Donovan Mitchell. I see that dude get killed time and time again. I trust him against Luka, that's for damn sure. But Steph Curry in a drop, Donovan in a drop, those smaller, quicker guards that can just get a 3 off in a half a second. That's where he really gets killed.
So who are you going with?
Oh, the Cavs.
The Cavs.
I do have a lot of reservation because I do worry that Tatum's going to absolutely kill him this series. And Mobley's not.
He always does.
That being said, I have so much optimism in this 5-man lineup because I think DeAndre Hunter rounds it out perfectly.
You're praying.
That
DeAndre
double
Hunter
big lineup
does
shit,
round it out perfectly.
That double big lineup shit, he gonna fucking end that shit.
Look at how cocky these guys are, man.
On top of that,
they have the right to be.
Hey, listen, they got Payton Pritchard, but we got Ty Jerome.
So if the NBA Finals is the Nuggets and the Cavs,
over here.
who wins?
If the Cavs beat Boston, they got it, man.
No, if the Cavs beat Boston, they could beat that.
I'll be honest. If the Nuggets get past the Thunder, they win the finals.
Okay.
I believe the finals.
This is funny. We got the
Celtics
Nuggets fan and the Celtics
play the
fan.
Celtics. Still going with yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I got Cavs.
OKC
That's a lot
against to
harder.
beat
It's a lot
Denver.
harder, I'll tell you that.
Okay, what would you have?
This is Mobley's gonna lock the Joker up.
Okay, lock the Joker up is crazy.
Mobley's gonna put on the best defensive performance against the Joker we've ever seen.
He got a better chance to lock
that
Tatum
you
up.
can't be serious about.
Of course, yeah.
How much? How
Yeah.
much?
That's
weight-
me. That's me.
Fucking
That's me.
Joker.
That's
Yeah.
me guessing. Like I'm hoping, I'm dreaming of it, but it's not gonna happen.
If they get past Boston, I mean, shit, all bets are off. Because I do think, as unstoppable as Joker is, if there's any lineup out there that can do it, it's Jared Allen, it's Evan Mobley, and it's having, of course, Donovan Mitchell and Garland.
It's a good
offensive
matchup. You know,
You are right, but if they can guard Shea and J-Dub, I believe that the Nuggets can also guard Donovan.
I think they, but I think
Shea, the
Denver.
top five
I
player
think
in the
SGA can destroy them, and OKC still loses.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think SGA can come to play, and they still like we've seen the Lakers own the time of possession against the Denver Nuggets in the series, and the Denver Nuggets was like, all right, that's cool. 6 minutes in the fourth, all right, let's play series. And then
So
boom,
you got the Cavs, but if the Nuggets play the Celtics, who would you go with?
Nuggets.
Okay.
I still would go with the Nuggets, but
They
it's
don't have
tougher.
an
I'll say
answer
that.
for the Joker. They really don't.
I
Now
worry about the Nuggets more than the Cavs.
flipping it over,
Yeah, I would.
OKC, if they play the Cavs, who wins that series?
I think OKC wins that
I
one.
go with OKC.
I think the Cavs.
OKC and Boston, who wins that series?
Boston.
Boston beats everybody. My book.
I think
No, Boston gives OKC bad fits
in
in the
that
finals.
theoretical Thunder Cavs matchup, you know who the biggest X factor is? Because he hasn't performed yet in the postseason. It's my
Darius
favorite player. It's Garland.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if he plays at that same
That's a
level as
tough
giving you
matchup
right
for him.
now, if he maintains this level of play in a Thunder series, the Cavs
Garland
lose
needs to
again.
do that against the Celtics.
I agree. But I like for OKC, if they get to the finals, that means they didn't have played Kyrie, probably stopped him. They didn't play Jamal, probably stopped him. They didn't play Ja, stopped him. If they do that going to the finals and they play the Cavs, I'm scared for Garland, truly, because that means you didn't stop high end guards already. Like that's gonna be like damn, and they have the defenders to guard Darius Garland. Like this isn't like they don't have the personnel. They have the personnel to guard both, but D-Mitch you obviously trust more.
Because I trust Mobley a lot to raise his level of play. I believe it's really an experience and toughness thing where
Chet's
he
a
was
tough
so
matchup for
young.
him.
I'm not worried about Mobley, but I just want to see with my own two eyes Garland maintain that consistent All-Star performance. Because that's a question on his name, and he has to basically ride those runs.
You got to do it first round of the playoffs. This ain't no. You could just.
I'm happy y'all are taking Cleveland, man. Last year was too easy. Last year, it's
Everybody got
Boston,
hurt.
it's Boston.
Donovan-
Well, last year you weren't cocky.
Even
Now
when we
you're
were
cocky.
healthy, even when everyone's healthy during the regular season, it's like Boston should win.
Yeah, that's
you
a
know, this year
Well,
I'm
he
happy.
picked the Bucks
Did he?
last year. You got the Bucks.
I feel like he was jacking Boston for a while.
No.
Except we got to the finals
I had the Celtics going to the finals last year.
until
I just had the Mavericks being them, and Luka was hurt, and that's why it didn't happen.
no, he
They lost
wasn't.
in
He was
5
fine.
games.
He was
Yeah,
fine.
they were.
No, did you see him? Did you see how taped up he was? His body was close.
You know what's crazy? Because I actually rewatched the first quarter of Game 1 last night. I watched Game 2. I watched Game 3. And I watched like the first.
He
half
was
of Game
limping. You
5.
saw it, right?
No, he was killing in the first half of basically every game. The second half came around, brother's ass.
His knee started hurting. The injections were off.
No, I think he just got tired. They were picking on him defensively. His body wore down, and he just couldn't bring it up in the second half. man.
Ah, Dehls. When are you
shame.
gonna learn Luka, man?
One day.
I mean, I just saw him get locked the fuck up in the finals, in the biggest moment. My team locked him up.
They did their
I
thing.
don't have to learn that. He has to teach me. I don't have to learn. He has to teach me.
For topics, fellas. Finish it off.
Yep. NFL AFC East preview. We are going to preview every team's offseason from this point forward. We're going to start off with the AFC East.
Champions.
And we're going to start off with the Buffalo Bills. Yes, but they did lose in the AFC Championship game, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunate.
And I'm looking at the Bills offseason. They have negative $16.8 million in cap space. Cut candidates, really nobody. Well, no, yeah, they have negative $16.9 million in cap space. Their free agents are Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas, Mac Hollins, DeMar Hamlin, Ty Johnson, their most important free agents. And cut candidates, there's only two, Von Miller and Matt Milano, but unless it's post June 1st, they're not going to get that cap space in free agency. So it really makes no sense to cut them. So we're seeing a Bills team coming into this offseason with very little wiggle room to make major moves, and they're going to have to rely on the draft once again, unless they restructure some contracts and then make a big-time signing.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I would call last year a success. I would call last year 100% Buffalo Bills.
Was it?
Yeah, a success. Listen,
why not? Jokes aside.
No, yeah, it was because you picked the Jets to win the AFC East, and that was an L. And on top of that, people had Miami.
What's that got to do with the Jets?
Listen, if you just stop cutting me off, let me talk. There were people that picked the Jets to win the division. There were other people that picked the Dolphins, which is worse than picking the Jets to win the division. This team ended up winning 14 games, being the number 2 seed in the AFC. Unfortunately, expectations change come playoff time.
Thank you. Yes, that's
and
what
their
I was getting to.
expectation was to make the Super Bowl, and they did not. And that's where they failed in that department. But they found some gems last year. Terrell Bernard. They found guys in the corner. Christian Benford really broke out into the scene. He was really good the year before, but he really broke out in terms of everybody really started to understand, know his name. James Cook, same thing. Everybody started to understand, know his name. You had a guy like Keon Coleman when he was healthy. He played some solid ball. You saw a little bit of a drop-off in Dalton Kincaid, but I think the offense just wasn't really favoring him, or the scheme wasn't really favoring him. The running back committee was good. I thought Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, James Cook, they provided a nice 3-man punch. They gave you a little bit of doubt. Not doubt, it gave you a little bit of little bit of confidence, I would say.
James Cook wants $15 million a year.
And listen, James Cook, I think, is a priority, but not a number one priority. I think you want to bring James Cook back.
He has a year left.
But I think you also trust in your development. You can trust in your draft to know he is not $15 million. Do not pay him. I saw $14 million, negative $14 million in cap, so negative 14, 16, same.
It's about the same.
Yeah, so we don't even got to go deep into that. I think Buffalo has to go into the finding cheaper routes, finding guys that you can find, at the low value market that can maybe outplay their contract. I think that's where they're going to go and ace the draft, because I think last year you saw a team where they played a lot of committee football on the offensive end. I think their offensive line is stout. It's going to continue to improve. You have to ace the draft. You have to go get skill position players and defensive backs. I think that's really important. I don't know if Rasul Douglas is coming back. I doubt Amari Cooper is coming back. I think he's going to be gone. So you have to find another guy in the draft at wide receiver, or go the route of just putting good, okay, complimentary guys around Josh Allen and let him figure it out. But I think this Buffalo team isn't far off from the team that was walking in last year. I think if you have a good draft, you bring in some cheap guys that, fit around the culture, that can come in, that can play really well. I think this is a team that can still win the division yet again. We don't know what the Jets situation is going to look like at quarterback. Miami is a whole another shit show we'll talk about. And can New England be one of those teams that surprise you? Yeah, it depends on their offseason. But I think you have the best quarterback in the division. You have a coach that has stability, and he can get the best out of his group in the regular season, which is really important. But I think this team can't make a move that helps them in the long run, and I mean championship run. I mean, you need a defensive star on this team. Long have you been waiting for that? You thought it would be Von Miller, but he dealt with too many back-to-back injuries that kind of just took him out the race. You need a defensive star. You have a lot of good players in Benford and Rasul Douglas, Matt Milano, but he keeps missing time. Ed Oliver, Greg Russo, but you don't have a defensive star. You don't have a Max Crosby. You don't even have a Quinnen Williams from your boys' team. You don't even have that. You need a star to really be a game changer. I don't think they need a game changer on offense. I think a game changer on defense. You saw in that Baltimore Ravens game, a lot of the times they got turnovers off of broken defensive plays. Like that fumble, I think that was Mark Andrews who got the fumble punched out. That was a broken defensive coverage. Like he literally got a first down. A 15-yard first down. Then Terrell Bernard, I believe, made a play on the ball. And that was a lot of this Buffalo defense after like week 10, where they would get beat. They would have broken coverage, but they'll get a turnover. It's very volatile. They'll get a turnover. They'll get an interception. So the defense looks like it's getting stops, but it really isn't. Like this defense prides themselves on getting turnovers, and they need a game plan to have play-by-play stops to get more 3-and-outs. And I think that's the route. So ace the draft is something that they need to weigh heavily on and find these guys that can outweigh their contracts, these cheap guys.
Yeah, it's tough to find moves for the Bills just because their cap situation, and they don't have like a plethora of draft picks to be able to go out and make a ton of moves. I think you could kind of look at the Bills in like two different terms when it comes to this offseason. Not that they're going to make any massive change, but big picture, I do worry a bit about Sean McDermott. And is he the head coach that gets you over the hump? Is he the head coach that beats the Chiefs? or shit, even the Bengals, to get you to the Super Bowl, because this is a guy that was a defensive-minded head coach, right? He came to the Bills, 5-6 years ago at this point. Over the last 2 years, they've been outside the top 10 EPA per play. They've been bottom 15 in the league in success rate. Been more or less an average to below average-ish defense these last couple of years. Going back to 2020, these are some of the points given up by the Bills defense in their final game in the playoffs. In 2020, they're up 38 to the Chiefs. 2021, 42 to the Chiefs. 2022, 27 to the Bengals. I think that's the one game you could look at. Bills could not do anything on offense. Only scored 10 points. Bengals smoked them, was never competitive. 2023, 27 points to the Chiefs. 32 points in 2024 this couple weeks ago to the Chiefs yet again. Number one factor, played Kansas City a lot. You played Mahomes a lot. But I think what we've seen over these last few years is, as great as the Chiefs are, as great as Mahomes is, he's not God. He can be beaten. We just saw the Eagles put together a great game plan with having a great defensive coordinator and, of course, great talent on the field that's more talented than the Buffalo Bills. But we've seen time and time again, just because you played the Chiefs doesn't mean it's an automatic loss. I mean, earlier in the year, they played the Chiefs. They held them to 20 points and 19 first downs. A few weeks ago in the AFC Championship game, like I mentioned, 32 points, 28 first downs. 32 points was the most points the Chiefs scored all season long. 28 first downs was tied for the most first downs this Chiefs offense had on the entire season. So time and time again, in the biggest situation, Sean McDermott's side of the ball has not showed up. Outside of one time, which again, he scored 27 points, but Josh Allen didn't show up in that Bengals game a few years ago. So it's hard to find a lot of moves for this Bills team to make because, number one, they're already really damn good. Number two, the cap situation isn't great. But when I just think of kind of a big picture issue for them or a big picture where they could get better, I just think, Vic Fangio comes to the Eagles. Of course, you add some personnel. Defense overnight becomes great. Robert Saleh, a couple of years ago, you get Sauce and you get a couple of these pieces. They go from the worst defense in football to a top 5 unit. Jim Harbaugh, first year with the Chargers, a top 5 unit. We have seen defensive-minded head coaches or even defensive coordinators in Vic Fangio's case get to a situation and right away that team turns it around and they're one of the most dominant defenses in football. We haven't really seen that with Sean McDermott these last couple of seasons. So I do worry, is that the move that, of course, you're not moving off of Josh, is that the move that the Bills need to make big picture-wise? Because this offseason, I don't think there's a ton of moves to make to get this roster better, outside, of course, hitting on some draft picks. And if you could find a way to make the cap space work, can you go and get a real game changer on the edge, like some guy in Cleveland? But I do think it's a bit of a long shot given their cap situation.
You look at the loss that Mahomes had at Super Bowl, the Eagles were able to rush 4 and get a 50% pressure rate on him and not blitz at all. Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith. If you can rush 4 and get pressure on Mahomes, yeah, that's the perfect plan to beat him. But the Bills don't have those players. And I think that's where I look at the position group the most. And I'm saying it needs to improve. They need a true game changer. Greg Rousseau is a good player. Von Miller's good. Ed Oliver is good. They're not game changers. I think Josh Sweat would probably go to the Buffalo and be their best edge player. Nolan Smith would be their best edge player. Jalen Carter would be their best defense player. And Milton Williams, if he keeps up what he just had this past season, probably the same thing. They just don't have enough game changers. And I think right now we see a lot of weak points with the Bills defense. The safety position is terrible right now. DeMar Hamlin, you're probably going to let him walk. And Taylor Rapp, if he's healthy, he's a good safety. And maybe you're hoping that Cole Bishop develops, but they need to improve the secondary. If Rasul Douglas leaves, you need another outside corner opposite of Christian Benford, and you need a game-changing type talent on that defensive line. And right now, they just don't have it. And then offensively, I know Josh Allen's always going to trot out elite-level offenses, but not having a true high-level guy is going to hold you back at some point. Like when you need to really make a play, it's going to hold you back. And maybe Kincaid finally takes a step forward, but we haven't seen that up to this point. You're talking about a Bills team that next year is going into the season with Shakir, Keon Coleman, Kincaid, and Dawson Knox as their best receiving options. I think they need to get better through the draft, and that's really the only place that you can get better with the cap space that they have available to them. I think if I look at one major move that they can make is you just restructure deals and you go and you trade for somebody like Max Crosby to get a true game changer on the defensive line. Because if you have a better defensive line, it makes everybody's job on the back end that much easier because you're getting to the quarterback faster. And when I look at the Bills, they have major holes, but the one thing that I think can fix those, and it can mask a lot of the deficiencies they have on their defense, is getting an elite edge rusher. But Max Crosby's coming off an injury. Matt Milano, he's injured every other year. Yep. Do they really want to trade multiple draft picks to somebody that just had a season-ending injury and might not be available, you know? So I think the Bills are in a tough situation because you have Josh Allen and you're always going to be competitive, but do you have that talent around him that's going to put the Bills over the top? Mm-hmm. I just don't see it right now.
Yeah, I mean, you need really on both sides probably a game changer, yep. right? Like, of course, probably not to like Max Crosby, Myles Garrett level on offense, but like having a true star edge that can take on double teams, that could have one-on-ones on the rest of the defensive line, like you mentioned, that just makes life easier for the secondary. Offensively, you probably don't need a piece as big as those guys, but like we saw, right, when the 4th down against the Chiefs where Josh Allen runs back 30 yards and just throws it up. If you have a number one, like whatever, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, whoever it might be, they're not going to get him, but just as an example, if you have a number one, when you see an all-out blitz, you can say, I know where this ball is going. Because if you're sending 0, Justin Jefferson, it is one-on-one, and he will beat that guy whether you want to run sideways, up and down. I trust him in a one-on-one situation to win. When you have the Shakir and Kincaid, you have to read the field. And when you have cover 0 coming at you, you don't have time to read the field. So it does feel like they're a superstar away on both sides from really being able to get over the hump. Not just the Chiefs, but potentially whoever they play in the Super Bowl, if it's the Eagles again next year.
Now, the Miami Dolphins, -$5 million in cap space. The free agents, Kendall Fuller, Tyrell Dodson, Emmanuel Ogbah, Kendall Lamb, Javon Holland, Liam Eichenberg, Robert Jones, Benito Jones, Anthony Walker, Kader Kohu. 13 players that they have in free agency played 40% of snaps or more this past season. So a lot of players that contributed to their team, and really their cut candidates, they're like the Bills. They don't really have any. You know, you Bradley Chubb, post June 1st designation. Same thing for Teron Armstead. Do you really want to weaken the offensive line when Patrick Paul Jr., who's a raw prospect, do you trust him to just slot in there and be your left tackle? Probably not. The Dolphins right now are kind of facing the reality of what happens when you pay a quarterback, is that you don't have much money to go around. You know, last offseason, Christian Wilkins left, and this offseason, Javon Holland might leave. But I have a lot of questions for the Dolphins. Number one is, Jalen Phillips is extension eligible. Mm-hmm. Do you extend him with his injury history? I think that's a legitimate question mark. Teron Armstead is older. Do you already have his replacement in Patrick Paul Jr.? Yes or no? Backup quarterback, you always need that because of Tua's injury history. Does Javon Holland leave? Because if he leaves, now you don't have good safeties because Jordan Poyer is also a free agent. So you'd lose Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland. Does Tyreek Hill get traded? And they ranked 28th in yards per carry last year. Aaron Brewer, Austin Jackson, Teron Armstead, I think 3 steady offensive linemen. Their guard play is amongst one of the worst in the NFL. So the Dolphins, we're looking at a team that they need to get younger at corner because Jalen Ramsey is not going to play at a hollow forever. They need to overhaul their safety position. Your edge rushers are injury prone. And then on offense, you need to build up the offensive line. And your best weapon in Tyreek Hill might not be on the team because he has made his frustrations vocalized.
Yeah.
If you take Tyreek Hill's $29 million off the books, you have money to sign Holland, sign another corner, and bring in a receiver that obviously won't give you Tyreek Hill level play, but could be somebody that's still serviceable. You know, could be on the opposite side of Jalen Waddle. Listen, man, I'll be brutally honest with the Miami Dolphins. You have a lot of issues at quarterback, offensive line.
What's the issue at quarterback?
He's just not that good, man. I wish he was here so I can tell him. He'll probably watch. Listen, Tua's just not that good, and this roster is just not that good. And there's not many avenues of this roster getting better. Their goal is to be a competitive playoff team in the AFC. I'm looking at the AFC right now, and you obviously got Buffalo in your division, right? Those are the monsters in your division. You go over there to the AFC North, you got Baltimore, you got the Bengals, you got Pittsburgh, who's always hanging around. Then you head over to the AFC West. The Chargers are coming back. The Chiefs will always be here. Denver is coming. Then you go look at the AFC South. This gives you a little grace, but Houston is still going to be a team that's around. What are the Jaguars and what are the Colts going to do this offseason? They're not too far removed from making any moves to be better than you guys. So there's just a ton. And with Miami being stuck in the cap, in negative cap, with them having a little bit of older players, having a couple key guys on free agency, this is another team that's going to have to ace the draft, another team that's going to bring in high-level talent. But a lot of your star players are either up older or coming off injuries. Your two edge rushers, if I'm not mistaken, Phillips and Bradley Chubb, are coming off of seasons where they had season-ending injuries. They're coming off of injuries. So, and those are your two edge rushers. Then you got Jalen Ramsey, like you mentioned. He's getting up there in age. How long is he going to be good for? Javon Holland's probably your best secondary player, or your youngest, and he's a free agent. You're going to have to give him big money. He's going to walk. How is Jalen Waddle going to look after? He was banged up all of last year. He didn't have his best year. Tyreek Hill is reaching north of 30. That's another guy with age. Devon Achane, he did not play his best football last year. So this is a team, and then the offensive line still isn't the greatest. It's barely average. So this team is dealing with a ton, and a lot of their money is being allocated to guys that are either not that good or that are getting up there in age. And that's a big problem for a team that hasn't really made the playoffs consistently, and they kind of have a cap on what they're going to do. And, of course, I can't forget, is Mike McDaniel the guy? Like, is that the coach? Is that the coach that can lead you over the hump, or is he more of an offensive coordinator that can follow the guy in charge? I think that may be more his suit.
What's more likely, that the Dolphins make the playoffs and win a playoff game, or a year from now we're looking at a complete reset?
Well, they haven't won a playoff game in 25 years, so it would be a monumental achievement if they did that. But, I mean, ironically, I feel like for the first time in a couple of years at least, I have more questions about the offense and the defense. I feel like Anthony Weaver, defensive coordinator, did a really good job this past year. They were one of the surprising defenses. They were 10th in EPA per play. And their biggest question, I think, defensively is just the secondary pieces, right? Both your safeties, Poyer and Holland, are free agents. Their nickel corners are free agent. Those are like the big pieces defensively they have to figure out how to bring back. I just saw a report that they won't be franchising Holland, so he will hit the open market, and he's going to have a very extensive market. He's going to be the best safety in free agency this year. But the question marks are on the offensive side of the ball. Like Riv mentioned, Mike McDaniel has not been able to win the big game. He is 3-14 against teams over 500 since he took over, and we know what the identity of this offense is, and he hasn't really been able to adjust it over the years. We've seen guys coming from Sean McVay's tree being able to adjust it. Kyle Shanahan, of course, when he brings CMC in, the offense changes, but we haven't seen as much, I don't know, I want to say creativeness, but different punches that Miami can throw that we've seen from some other teams from this, Shanahan, McVay tree. Quarterback position. Number one, can Tua stay healthy? But it's the same question with Mike McDaniel as it is with Tua. In those big games, he has not been good. Against playoff teams, he is 4-13, 26 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, and a passer rating below 90. When your quarterback and your head coach, in the biggest moments you have question marks about, it's going to be very difficult for me to have faith that you could, number one, make the playoffs, and number two, even win a playoff game. The weapons room, right? Number one, who is Devon Achane as a runner? Because we saw in his rookie year, he was super, super efficient. This past season, the efficiency went down, but also Tua got hurt. When Tua was out, this guy could not run damn near 3 yards a carry. When he was in there, especially as a pass catcher, he is special as a pass catcher, but is he a workhorse? Because there was times where you were giving him 15 to 20 touches a game, or is he someone that you sprinkle in with, Jalen Wright like they took in round 3 of last season? And then also the receivers, right? Does Tyreek want to be here long term? Well, Jalen Waddle returned to who Jalen Waddle was. This is a guy I was looking the other day, he's, I think, top 5 or 6 in terms of annual value for a wide receiver. And I don't even know if he's a top 25, 30 receiver entering the 2025 season. He has taken a pretty significant drop-off over these last couple of years. Of course, injuries have played a part in that. And then lastly is the offensive line. You mentioned those 3 steady pieces. Their 2 starting guards, Eichenberg and Robert Jones, are free agents. But not that their offensive line isn't important, because of course it's important when you have Tua, but since there's such a quick passing game, they're probably not going to invest as much money in their offensive line outside of Armstead, who's making a good amount of money. So there's a lot of questions on offense for me. I do feel like Anthony Weaver is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. So even if some talent leaves, I feel like they can be a respectable defense. And we know the offense is going to have big games, right? We know at the end of the year, they're going to be like top 10 in EPA because they're going to have games where they score 40 points against bad defenses. But this is a team that we're done wondering, are you good enough to go 500? Are you good enough to win 10 games? We know you can do that. We know you can beat bad teams. Now it's this next step. Can you become a consistent playoff team? Can you get a playoff win? And with the cap space, with the draft picks, it's hard to find a lot of areas where this team, usurps Buffalo, but even at the minimum, becomes a wild card team.
Yeah, when a team is having aspirations of making deep playoff runs, you need a couple things to go right for you. When you're a team like the Dolphins, you need to have an overwhelmingly great roster to compete in these type of moments. Because if you have a team that is inferior to another roster, there's one of two ways you can beat that team. You have a quarterback that is far better than that opposing team's quarterback, or you have a coach that is far better than that other team's coach. And the Dolphins seem to be at a disadvantage in both of those areas. Mm-hmm. So unless they have an overwhelmingly stacked roster, like to the level of what the Eagles just had this year, they're not going to be able to win those games. And it's going to be very hard to get to that point. Like, they would have to hit on every single draft pick, literally. So I think a change of philosophy with Miami is needed. I think they need to invest in the offensive line. I think that first-round draft pick, at least in my mind, should be a lock for an offensive lineman, and just starting to build through the trenches and giving your offense a high floor, because we're already seeing defenses play the Dolphins offense much differently, and they transform from a deep passing attack to a short behind the line of scrimmage passing attack, and they were still one of the best offenses in the league, but against better teams, they just know how to cover that up and blanket it better. So it looks very sluggish, but that's the Dolphins' problems. That's what they're faced with right now.
And investing in not just offensive linemen, but like large humans on the offensive line. I remember looking, I think it was during the season, they had the lightest offensive line in the NFL this year, amongst the lightest. And of course, that's what Mike McDaniel wants to do, right? He wants to have a higher tempo. He wants to push the ball down the field. And if you have dudes that are 350 pounds just constantly, stepping back to pass protect, it's hard for them. When you have lighter guys, it's a bit easier. But I think getting a bigger body who can open up the run game is huge, because if this team can consistently run the ball, it makes life easier for two in this offense.
The New York Jets, coming off a season that was disappointing with Aaron Rodgers, $16.8 million in cap space, cut candidates. Devontae Adams would free up $29.8 million, so it almost becomes a no-brainer for the production that he's giving you. Aaron Rodgers also getting cut, that's been reported, and the free agents, Hassan Reddick, DJ Reed, Jamian Sherwood, Tyler Conklin, Morgan Moses. I feel like you look at the offseason for the Jets, and it could go in a ton of different directions. Do you draft a quarterback? Do you draft a defensive lineman and add to it? Do you add to the offensive line if Morgan Moses leaves at right tackle? Do you add a weapon on offense? Right now, the Jets are faced with, number one, trying to keep certain players that played really well, like Jamian Sherwood and Morgan Moses, on the team for next season. But you're also faced within the draft, hey, do you draft the best player available, or do you draft the best quarterback and maybe try to trade up for a quarterback, because there's no quarterback on this team currently that you feel comfortable going into next season with? So I think that's the biggest question mark. If you're not getting a quarterback, what's the bridge and what's the option? And also, how are you building the roster to supplement that quarterback?
I like Tyrod. Just throwing that out there. I don't love him, but I like Tyrod.
More than Captain Kirk?
Maybe.
Because he's more mobile, I guess. Listen, I saw a mock that you guys, somebody dropped on Twitter that said had you guys picking Will Johnson. I think if Will or Tet there, you take him. I think, like, if those are the best players available at that position, you take Will Johnson, who can kind of, I'll be honest, Will Johnson could be better than DJ Reed day one. Not to say no disrespect to DJ Reed, just I believe in Will Johnson's ability
like
that
him more
much.
Than Travis Hunter, I know you're a big fan.
I love Will Johnson. Just as a corner, like a flat out corner, I love Will Johnson.
Nina Kimes had the Jets taking Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State.
I don't think he'll go top 10. I think if Tet's there, you also could take Tet. Listen, you guys have Tay. You're probably gonna lose Tay. You're probably gonna lose DJ Reed. So those are easy replacements that you can get in this draft. There's also a guy in Graham who you can take also too. You guys are in a tricky situation because you have a lot of good players, but you didn't really have a direction this year. I think defensively you kind of lost your edge when you fired Robert Saleh, and then kind of Aaron Rodgers kind of put a sour taste in the office. Excuse me. So I think when you hired Glenn, I think that was a good sign that you guys are moving in a good direction, somewhere that has a avenue of success. You know, you have a path. You chose the Glenn path. You're looking down the path like, all right, this path looks good. It looks not scary. You know, there's no dark areas. We can walk down this path. So now you're walking down this path. Your next part of the path is the draft. How do you manage the draft? I think if it's a quarterback there, that's Shedeur. I can see you guys taking him too. He seems like he has the aura, the vibe that's built for the big New York Jets media. Also, at the same time, is your team prepared for a quarterback, a rookie quarterback? I think so. I think your team isn't far off from being competitive. I know you guys had a dog shit year, and I know everything went to shit, but like my brother Dehls always says, you're due.
So due.
You're due.
So
and,
due.
you know, it can't be this bad.
I think the roster is at such
forever.
a bad point because, you know, there's some...
Think the roster's in a bad part?
Yeah, there's some position groups that are good, but okay, just going down it. The offensive line, I think, is steady, right? We don't have a tight end. No option there. You don't have a secondary receiving option outside of Garrett Wilson.
Or a third or
Yeah,
fourth.
yeah, you don't have receivers. So the Jets need tight end. They need a receiver. They need quarterback. Then defensively, there's two good defensive linemen, Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald. Jermaine Johnson is coming back from injury. So really, you have like 2.5 good defensive linemen. So they need to add defensive linemen to this team. The linebackers, Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley, those are good. I'm fine with that. But then the secondary, the safety position is terrible right now. And Michael Carter and Sauce Gardner, I trust, but you need an outside corner. So right now, the Jets are looking at tight end, wide receiver, right tackle if Morgan Moses leaves, interior defensive line, probably another edge if you don't feel comfortable with Jermaine Johnson's health, 2 safeties, and an outside cornerback. There are so many needs here. And while I'm not opposed to drafting a quarterback, the Jets very much do feel like a team that's going to get a bridge quarterback, whether that's Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, Tyrod Taylor. I feel like they're going to be more in the business of trying to revive somebody's career rather than starting fresh with a rookie.
Yeah, I think depending on how the draft goes, right? Because if for whatever reason the Titans pass on a quarterback and the Giants trade for Matt Stafford and all of a sudden Cleveland takes Cam Ward at 2, New England's not taking a quarterback, and Jacksonville's sitting there at 5, the Jets are sitting there at 7, and you have the Raiders at 6. I think there is a situation where the Jets would try to leapfrog the Raiders if they want to take Shedeur. I would be against moving all the way up from 7 to 1 or 2, and you have to give up multiple either first-round picks or multiple day 2 picks. Though the Jets have been terrible drafting on day 2 and day 3, regardless of general manager. I think you need to keep those picks to build out this roster. But that would be my first option. If you can trade up just from 7 to 5, give up like a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and you can, you know, pick Shedeur, or if for some reason Cam Ward falls, that would be my number 1 option. If not, it would be bringing in someone to compete with Tyrod Taylor, whether that's Justin Fields, Jameis Winston, Kirk Cousins, having some sort of option, because you need a backup more than anything, right? Jordan Travis is the only other quarterback on this roster, and he had a setback in his rehab. He's coming off a gruesome leg injury. There's a chance he never plays in the NFL. Outside of that, I agree. Wide receiver, you need a ton of help, right? It's not just getting number 2 receiver. It's getting number 3, and it's getting number 4, because Tay is gone, Lazard is gone. Malachi Corley is really the only other player on this team, and I don't even know if he's a real NFL wide receiver or if he's just a gadget guy who's going to return kicks. It's a guy that Joe Douglas had above Brian Thomas Jr. That was pretty scary. But I think there's a lot of different places you can go at receiver. If Ted McMillan's there at 7, I feel like he's a amazing, perfect complement to Garrett Wilson, just their different play styles. But you need to bring in a couple vets too. Tim Patrick's a guy that they've been linked to a lot, the connection there with Aaron Glenn. But I would like to see them try to bring in a Chris Godwin or a Stephon Diggs on a shorter 1 to 2 year deal on maybe a higher annual that you get elsewhere. Because if they do make some of these cuts, like Tay, who's going to be cut, Rodgers, a couple other pieces, they could get up to like $50-60 million in cap room. So they'll have the money to be able to go out there and make moves. You just got to spend it on the right pieces. Outside of receiver, I feel really good at offensive line outside of right tackle. I think Morgan Moses would be the number 1 guy I would try to bring back, not just because he's a great player, but he plays through injuries. He's a great locker room guy. He's a veteran presence on an offensive line that's pretty damn young with Olu and AVT and Joe Tippmann. I think his veteran presence was really missed when they lost in these last couple of seasons. And then defense, you mentioned it, Joel. The defensive line needs the biggest overhaul, because last year with fucking Kinlaw and just really Solomon Thomas, just not really good players, guys that we were getting gashed in the run from week 1 all the way through week 18 last season. I love Quinnen. I love Will McDonald. I'm praying Jermaine Johnson can get back. But you really need like 2 to 3 more defensive linemen, mostly on the interior to really beef it up. So if you get a Mason Graham in the draft, that would be perfect. Secondary. Can we take safety seriously for the first time in like half a decade at this point?
Jim Leonard.
Joe Douglas.
Who has your safety's been, honestly?
Joe Douglas these last few years. We picked up Jalen Mills.
Adams
off
was the last great one.
Literally, I have in my notes. The Jets, will you employ legit safety for the first time since Jamal Adams? Last season, they picked up Jalen Mills like halfway through the year. I thought he was pretty decent. I'd love to have him back. But these last few years, it's been Tony Adams, Ashton Davis, Jordan Whitehead, LaMarcus Joyner. It's just been a position where, granted, the Jets may be able to get away with it because they've had such elite cornerback play from DJ Reed and Sauce and Michael Carter in the slot that they've been able to get away with pretty bad to terrible safety play. And of course, they've had some guys on the defensive line like Quinnen to get after the passer. But are you going to invest in the safety position? And yeah, who's your replacement from DJ Reed? I think Brandon Echols is probably going to be the guy. I don't think they're going to invest a lot in the secondary since you extended Carter last season, and Sauce is going to be due for an extension. Yeah, I guess someone on day 3 or something, but I feel like Eichels, for all the other holes you have, he's someone I would plug in and just be okay with.
Now, you guys can call me crazy, but I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think the Patriots have a chance to do something similar to what the Commanders did this past season with the amount of assets they're going to have in this offseason. They have $119 million in cap space. Their free agents are Jonathan Jones, Jacoby Brissett, and Dietrich Wise. Those are their 3 best ones, which means that they're able to splurge in free agency. And you look at their needs: wide receiver, guard, offensive tackle, nose tackle, cornerback. I created a dream offseason for the Patriots, and I signed a ton of great players. So I signed Josh Sweat. I signed DJ Reed. I signed BJ Hill. I signed Kevin Zeitler. I signed Ronnie Stanley, who might not be back with the Ravens. And I drafted Ted McMillan. So the Patriots roster would be Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, Pop Douglas, Ted McMillan, Hunter Henry, Ronnie Stanley, Cole Strange, David Andrews, Kevin Zeitler, Michael Nwenu. Then the defense: Keon White, B.J. Hill, Christian Barmore, Josh Sweat, Jelani Tavai, Christian Gonzalez, DJ Reed, Marcus Jones, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, Marte Mapu. I mean, this is a really good team. Like, I think the Patriots have a chance. Like, I'm not saying these are the free agents they're going to sign, but the Patriots have a chance to, if they want, they can get Josh Sweat and they could get Milton Williams. They could get DJ Reed. I mean, they have the ability to sign like 5 to 8 quality plus starters for their team on top of the high-end draft capital that they do have as well. So this team could turn around fairly quickly, and this could be a team that competes for the AFC East next year.
And on top of that, they have a guy. Like, they have a guy at quarterback, and I think that's the most important part of the conversation. You know, I think what we got lost in last year is just assuming and believing in Caleb Williams and just being the guy day one. And in reality, it was Jaden that was the guy from day one. And even though Caleb had the infrastructure that we thought and he had the roster, he also had issues that we kind of just looked over. And I think with Drake May, a lot of the stuff last year got swept under the rug because, you know, it's New England. They weren't winning, but he played a damn good, you know, season for a guy who didn't have much to work with. And I agree with you. I think if they want to go in that direction, they definitely can. You have $120 million in cap space, and you have a good draft capital for this season where you can make some moves. And on top of that, they have some young talent. It's nothing crazy, but you have a high-end corner in Christian Gonzalez, an elite corner, in my opinion, in Christian Gonzalez. You have the quarterback at Drake May. I love Mike Vrabel. Is Josh McDaniels a great offensive coordinator? We'll see.
He is a great OC, yes.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think, for me, like, they don't have many key departures like Dietrich Wise, Austin Hooper, Jonathan Jones was the most notable guys I've seen. So they're not losing a ton. Now you can just add on. And it's beautiful when you can add on and not lose anything. And I think that's the most important part for New England. You have the number 4 pick in the draft. So what if Travis Hunter heads over to New England? Now you got Travis Hunter, Christian Gonzalez on the outside. Travis Hunter's probably going to get a good amount of wide receiver packages, but for the most part, you have 2 stout corners already, and they're young. They're on rookie deals. Now you're bringing in the DJ Reed to be that third guy that can come in, kind of give you that veteranship and also not be the number 1 corner for you. You can bring in, maybe you can go out and get a T. Higgins if he is available. Maybe you can buy low on a Stephon Diggs deal. You know, I think they have all the makings of being that team. It's just the AFC is so tough, man. I mean, the AFC has, you know, you think the Bengals are going to come back. That's another team that's trying to get back into the playoff push. Pittsburgh's always hanging around. Indianapolis, Houston's trying to make another push for a playoff. Like, there's just so many teams. Then you got to deal with Buffalo in your own division. So you have to make a lot of really good moves that can kind of tilt you in that direction. But you have the two most important things, in my opinion. I think you have the coach, and I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. And I think you have the quarterback, and I think Drake May is that guy.
Yeah, they already made the best move of the offseason. That was hiring Mike Vrabel. It feels like with that hire alone, you have like a floor of like 7 wins just for what Mike Vrabel has done throughout his career, what he's done in Tennessee, bringing them to number 1 seeds with less than ideal talent, specifically at the quarterback position. And now you have a guy like Drake May, who I think could be, everything goes right, he could be a top 10 quarterback as soon as next season. But I think the ideal situation is you go out there and you make a big splash in free agency at wide receiver. Can you get a T. Higgins? To a lesser extent, can you go and trade for a Deebo Samuel? Are the Steelers fed up with George Pickens? Would you want to bring him in there? How will he mesh with Mike Vrabel? But to really make a splash in free agency, I think at the end of the offseason, you're going in and Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas are your wide receivers 3 and 4 instead of your 1 and 2. Can you go out there and get 2 receivers, whether that's the free agency or the draft, to put you in a position where Drake May has some real weapons here at wide receiver? And then in free agency, of course, you get guys like Trey Smith. You mentioned Ronnie Stanley. They have so much money to do really whatever the hell they want. We could sit here for hours and go through every situation because they'll be in the market for every single free agent on both sides of the ball because, number one, they have the money. And number two, the roster isn't that good. That's why the free agents, they don't have a ton because they don't have a ton of talent. But I think what's most interesting is once we get past free agency, at number 4, they could kind of control the draft, right? Because 1, 2, and 3, this is a world if we live in where Stafford's on the Giants and only one quarterback goes. At number 4, they have the possibility of moving down to a plethora of teams who want to move up. Are they going to want to do business with the Jets in their own division? Probably not. But the Raiders at number 5 or 6, number 6, the Saints a couple of picks down the road. There's multiple teams that could be in the market to possibly trade up and get their quarterback. And now you're sitting there at 4. You can move back and still get a Will Campbell to help the offensive line or a Luther Burden to help the wide receiver room. You could pick up an extra second-round pick to draft a Marion Hampton or a Travion Henderson because I think you can make an upgrade at running back too, even though you paid Ramondre Stevenson. He's like a average to below average running back in the league, and all the fumble issues he had last season too. I don't think that's going to rock out that well with Mike Vrabel. You fumble the ball, you're going to get pulled. So they have unlimited assets this year. And being at number 4 in the draft, they could sit and pick. They could take a Ted McMillan. They could take a Travis Hunter if he falls. They're in a really, really good position. And outside of other years when we talk about teams who have all the cap space and a top 5 pick and a quarterback we like, getting Mike Vrabel just makes me feel so comfortable about where this team is going and the floor of this team. What their ceiling is, I don't know, because you're adding a lot of talent in 1 year. And and Vrabel, of course, has been a head coach in the past. McDaniel's been offensive coordinator for years and years and years. But to bring all that talent together in one offseason, it's hard to go from worst to first. But in the AFC, they could compete for the final wildcard spot, right? I don't think they're going to be competitors for the Buffalo Bills because they feel like a lock every year to win at minimum 12 games, as most as 14, 15 games when the season is right. But this is a team with Drake May at quarterback, with the head coach I like, with all the draft picks and the free agency and the cap space in the world. They're going to be the biggest players this year. And go out there, get some moves for your defense and get some moves for Drake May. See what we could do next year.
Mike Vrabel has already told us what his philosophy is for the team. He wants to run the ball. So I think the number one thing that we're going to see the Patriots attack this offseason is the offensive line. I think they're probably going to sign 2 at least quality offensive linemen to add to the offensive line. I feel like the only persons that are safe really is Mike Onwenu and then Cole Strange possibly, but even then,
they just like on the Barmore cusp too, right?
Christian Barmore, on the defensive line. So he dealt with blood clots last year, but this year he should be healthy and ready to go. No, they have, like you said, they have a lot of young talent. You have Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, Keon White, Jelani Tavai revived his career with the Patriots.
Receiver Demario Douglas too.
Pop Douglas is good. Yeah, so they have some talent there. So I think we're going to see them aggressively attack offensive line, probably add 2+ quality starters, and then like you mentioned, like getting a running back in the draft, in a draft that is running back heavy. Mike Vrabel wants to run the football. We can see the Patriots become a team that is going to be built inside out through the trenches. So their top draft picks, while I would love Ted McMillan to go to the Patriots, I wouldn't be surprised if all of their top level assets are spent on offensive line, defensive line, running back, building that out, and then adding wide receiver maybe on day 2 of the draft and just building it that way. Adding some veteran presence to the team. Like maybe it won't be T. Higgins, but maybe it's somebody like Chris Godwin, or maybe it's somebody like that where it's not something that's going to move the needle too much, but you have a better foundation around Drake May, because the number one thing is just to protect him and make sure he's not going to get hurt.
Yeah, you can get a running back in day 4, and he turns out to be the best running back in the class.
Only 3 days of the draft, but facts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Day 3. Apologize. You get a running back in day 3, and it's like he turns out to be the best running back in the class. Yeah. The class is so loaded. And like you mentioned, and you have a small window with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, because then you got to start paying him. And of course, you can make all these reconstructions and stuff like that, but you have this short window where you have to kind of build now. And, the direction New England could go is maybe not super, super aggressive, but aggressive and safe. If Chris Godwin's on the market, okay, you give him a safe deal. He's coming off an injury. You don't attach too much money. You don't give him a long-term deal, but let him prove it. And then you figure out, next year.
I think we're going to see a lot of the teams with rookie quarterbacks from this past season be aggressive. Sure. Like we see Washington, we see New England, we see Chicago, Denver. Even Denver. They're all going to be aggressive. The only team that doesn't have the assets to be aggressive is Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Even Minnesota, if they don't bring back Sam Darnold, they're going to be ultra aggressive too, because they have a rookie quarterback.
There's not a lot of draft picks.
Yeah, Atlanta's just the only team that really they don't have the cap space to really build around Penix like that.
$160 million.
Yes, exactly. But everybody else, those are probably going to be the major players. And New England. I think New England can make a big jump.
Was it Pitts that said draft me in fantasy? I saw some quote. I don't know if it was him. Right?
Bring him to Philly. We'll get him right.
Honestly, he goes to Philly, he'll probably get right.
Yeah, we'll get him right.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast, episode 458. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.